Glenn Clark Radio, talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants. So, Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Back-to-back nights, pretty good basketball games. Nerve-wracking. Holy hell. Good morning. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am the aforementioned Glenn Clark. He is Griffin Bass.
I don't think I can go to another basketball game after that because that was probably the greatest basketball game I've ever seen in person.
Most thrilling.
I mean,
I don't know if it was the best basketball. I mean, there was some really good basketball in there. There was some times where defense was optional.
Oh yeah, for sure. Which was why it was good. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it.
Yeah, maybe.
A lot of balls and hoops.
Sheesh. Maryland survives, and their reward is they get to play South Carolina. Go get them, girls! You got this. Holy crap. As Maryland defeats Alabama in double overtime, 111 to 108 in order to advance to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA Women's Tournament, and that game had everything. Who was the girl? Ashley Parker Angel?
Yeah, Sarah Jessica Parker. Yeah.
God, man.
Yeah, she was annoying.
Whew. That girl. Holy crap. What'd she finish with, 42?
45, I think.
45?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why
not, man? Maryland was down with 17.
17 they were
17
down.
in the third quarter. They were down 12 in the fourth quarter. They were down 3 in the final minute. Then they really should have won in both in the first overtime. Inexcusable. Like, how does that happen? So, like when we say adventure, like truly an adventure. A game you had no business winning, and then a game you had no business losing, and yet you hadn't done either. And then you end up in double overtime where they finally held on for a victory, and they do move on. Just wildly entertaining basketball game. We, of course, had Monday Night Trivia last night, so I was watching here as I was finishing some work yesterday afternoon, and then I got to be honest with you. I'm glad that there were no cops that were near me because as I was driving to trivia, I definitely was watching. I wasn't listening. Like, you do the thing where you're like, oh, I'll listen. I'll put it on, and then I'll listen. And to be fair, it's a shame that radio died. Like, it's a real bummer that we killed radio because I would love to have just put it on the radio in my car so that I wasn't distracted the way that I was. Here's the funny thing about that is we killed radio. And by we, I mean radio. Like, radio decided that radio needed to die. And so instead of actually serving the public and doing something that offers value and having the games available for easy listenership, we had, I don't want to get into it. It's a conversation around the day. Well, I do still work over there from time to time, including tonight, 6 to 8, 105.7 The Fan. Glenn and Rita. Come join us. Book Club, My Sweet Bobby. Or Sweet Bobby, My Catfish Nightmare, I believe is what it was called.
My Sweet Catfish Nightmare,
was awful.
Bobby?
It was terrible, but we'll talk about it tonight.
As in, like, the person was terrible, or is just like, the actual documentary itself was not well done?
The documentary was fine, but with a lot of flaws. Like, a lot of flaws. I can't give it away. We do book club tonight. Shut up, you.
All right, sorry.
The point is, I would have liked to have listened. Listening, not allowed. So I pull it up on the ESPN app. And then if it's up on the ESPN app, what am I going to do? Not look? The thrilling basketball game as Maryland's trying to climb out of this. Like at the end of the third quarter when they got the 3 to cut it to 9, and then inexplicably Alabama turned it over in the backcourt and there was still a second left, and you were like,
yeah. I was like,
oh, my God, this
cut
game's turning, right? Like they're going to get it down to 7. Then Mir McClain left it short.
Yeah.
And then Alabama gets the and 1 to start the fourth quarter. I 100% said, that's that. Then I get to the bar for trivia last night, and everyone is enthralled. Like, we can barely play trivia because the entire bar is glued to this basketball game last night.
What, didn't end until like 8
Oh, it didn't end
almost?
until, yeah, absolutely. It didn't end until about
7:45.
8. Yeah, they kept putting up in the corner, like, North Carolina, West Virginia, now, or starting soon, halftime. It's one of those deals. Great game, man. Great game. Congratulations. It's a team that's been through a lot this season, and there's a lot of what could have been for that group, like had they been able to stay healthy. But, yeah, do I like their chances against South Carolina? No.
Yeah. Oh.
No. I'm not gonna lie about this.
Can't take them.
I don't think they can compete with South Carolina, but they'll play the game anyway, and who knows what ends up happening. So from the thrill of the Maryland-Alabama game to the agony of Juju Watkins tearing her ACL last night, which is it almost feels impossible. Like I think it was absurd the Jets went all in on Aaron Rodgers the way that they did. But even with that said, that scene, if you cared about the Jets, if you talked yourself into finally, and remember, these dopes thought it was smarter to go after Aaron Rodgers than Lamar Jackson. And so I'm not trying to tell you that it made sense, but that's how insane they were. It felt impossible to them for all of that, everything that you had built up into this, to come crashing down moments into it. And in a way, the single most famous basketball player playing this month at the college level, the most well-known, the biggest star, is not supposed to get hurt in the second round of the tournament. It's cruel. Not just to USC. And not that I think that USC was going to win the tournament, but they had a shot. It's cruel to basketball, to sports fans. It's particularly cruel to women's basketball, coming off obviously the high of the last couple of years, having this heir apparent driving force, getting more and more casual fans to the sport, to then lose her. It just sucks. There's no way around it. And look, Paige Beckers is still a star, but as far as individual stars, known commodities are concerned, that's kind of the list. It was the two of them going into the tournament. Not to say there aren't other great players. And clearly South Carolina is still a great team. And much like in the men's game, the coaches can very much be the stars, right? Like Kim Mulkey is still in the tournament, and Dawn Staley is absolutely a known commodity. Gino Auriemma is a known commodity. But as we've seen, the advantage that the women's game had the last couple of years is unlike the men's tournament, where you don't have years to build stars. They had been building stars for years. And Juju Watkins a year ago became a phenomenon that we all were excited about. Well, let's see what next year has in store. Just killer. Just killer, man. Utterly and completely deflating that she gets hurt last night. They'll continue the tournament anyway. That's the way that it works. And I would assume that I haven't looked.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt me in Stecca. It's
Oh, did you have USC?
Steck and I had USC.
Oh,
Steck and I had
no.
USC. The good news is I'm ahead of him.
Okay, you got that going for you. Who did everybody else take?
You three. It was you, KZ, and Proctor. You each had South Carolina.
Man, have you heard of them?
I'm in first.
You familiar with
what
they
it's
were? So now you can become like a big UCLA fan.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah.
Like
I gotta, or I'm just gonna root so hard against USC against South Carolina.
The other USC.
Yeah,
yes.
the other USC.
Yeah, correct. I mean the best.
Yeah.
Now, like unlike the last time, you can root for Maryland. A crazy thought. Unlike
it'd be fun.
Unlike Sunday night when you scumbag you were rooting for Colorado State.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, now you can root for Maryland for.
But yeah, I mean I'm clearly you were in last at the moment.
Oh no!
I have an 11-point lead, like an 11 pick. I have 570. You have 460. But yeah, again, it doesn't really matter because
as I said,
my champion.
I tried to explain this to the boys when I got together for trivia last night because like these guys are not sports people. And I made them get into the bracket contest because, again, thank you all. We raised $650 for Show Your Soft Side. Extraordinarily appreciative of that. It goes a long way. The winner of our bracket contest will be getting $630. We had our friend Chad Lamassa got in just to throw in $20 after the brackets had closed.
Thank you, Chad.
To say, can you put this towards Show Your Soft Side? And I'm happy to do it.
No.
What? Chad, Lori Smith, who was very involved with Show Your Soft Side until her passing, a radio legend in this town. Lori and Chad are very close friends, so he knew how much it meant to her, and he wanted to, do something in her honor. And I said, absolutely. So, $650 to charity, $630 to the winner of the bracket contest. I say all that to say, these guys, I'm trying to explain to them, you don't worry about what place you're in. The place you're in doesn't really help you. And it's always the rat poison of bracket contests is that like you want to check because the first weekend is the most exciting weekend, right? So you're constantly checking it. It's also the least possible points that you're going to get. And as I explained last year, the two people that were in the final, one of them, the only two people that had a chance to win the bracket contest going into the national championship game, one of them finished in first place, the other one finished in like 17th place. Because it's the championship and the Final Four that are going to determine this. Unless we have some bizarro year. I'm trying to think of how this could work out. We're like...
It really can't.
Because there aren't Cinderellas left.
Even if you go 32 for 32 on round one,
No, I'm saying unless you get to a point where the Final Four is just utterly random.
The San Diego State,
where
FAU,
Florida Atlantic
Miami,
that year.
Yeah.
Where somehow this year it's like Ole Miss, BYU... Arkansas
Texas
and
Tech, yeah. Oh yeah, Arkansas.
No, Texas Tech. I think some people picked Texas Tech into the Final Four. I think I did actually. No, I had Florida.
Who Purdue? I guess like they just.
Yeah, that would probably be
that side is all chalk.
Right.
That.
If somehow that's the Final Four, well then yeah, these rounds will end up mattering. But short of that, you're going to obsess over where you are in the bracket contest right now, when the reality is. How many Final Four teams you get? Because that's where the real points are in a bracket contest. So, not worried about that. Not worried about that. And I hate the fact that now all of a sudden by giving me this information, like, there's a small part of me that's like, well, maybe it's for the best that Juju's not. But I don't mean that. I don't mean that.
Well, so I'm 60. Yeah, I'm 60 points ahead of Stecca. So I think, like, essentially, I'm playing against Stecca now.
Way too much. You shouldn't feel good at all. Not at all. There's way too much still meat on that. Like, you have no idea how each other picked all the games. You have no clue. There's way too much meat on that.
He had South Carolina.
You do want to be ahead. I agree with that. But staying ahead is certainly not a given at this point. All right. Coming up on the program today, we are going to continue to talk some college basketball. It is a Tuesday, so our friend Patrick Stevens will join us. We will also chat with Randolph Childress. Mentioned that I watched a lot of Fast Break. Randolph was a big part of that, along with Josh Pastner, who, of course, went from...
I need Notre Dame to lose. That's what I need. I need Notre Dame to lose.
Josh Pastner went from GCR to UNLV. It's a typical story, the way that it works. Make a morning appearance on GCR. The folks out in Vegas are like, that guy sounds like he should be a coach. They pick up the phone, they call, they say...
What, he's going to wear a tie on the sideline?
Yeah, right.
Give him a call.
Yeah, 100%. They say, we heard you on the show this morning, and...
That's what they call it.
We like
the
cut
show.
We like the cut of your jib. And so Yeah, Josh Pastner. I guess it's for the best that he didn't have any more TV work to be done next weekend, as he's going to be employed instead. Randolph Childress will join us, and then you've also seen Randolph in like Field of 68 and all sorts of other places. I think he does ACC Network too. And although there's not a lot of that left in the tournament. And then also this morning we will meet Cooper Rush, new Ravens quarterback, of course, former Dallas Cowboy. We will chat with him as well. Find out if he's going to be running the exact same Lamar Jackson offense if he comes into games this season. Find out. All that coming up on a Tuesday edition of the program. The Orioles obviously did not play their final exhibition game of the season yesterday. For shame. For shame.
I know you were really looking forward to it, too.
It's the only thing I wanted to do yesterday was sit around and watch an exhibition baseball game. For shame. Unbelievable. They did make a couple more moves roster-wise yesterday. Two guys that were on the very outside looking in of having a chance of being on the roster, the Machine, Bert Kreischer, and Emmanuel Rivera. They will not be making the roster, despite the fact that Bert Kreischer, I believe, went he hit like 700 during spring training. Again, believe it or not, spring training doesn't matter. God. So sad news for Bert as he goes back to the minors. Same with Emmanuel Rivera. And so it's down to just the two that we thought it was down to, Levon Soto or Jorge Mateo. Either Jorge Mateo is healthy enough to be ready to start the season, or Levon Soto will have a roster spot to start the season. One of those two things will be occurring. Which one it will be, I don't know. They'll release the Doves or something. They don't actually have to set the roster until Thursday. I think it's like an hour before the game or something like that. So they don't have to make – they could – this very well could be a thing where they send both of them to Toronto because they're still monitoring Jorge Mateo and trying to figure out just how game ready he is. Clearly, for Jorge Mateo, this is his opportunity to play every day. So, or close to every day. I got to think about whether or not they would still just platoon him. Like, I got to think about that for a second. You don't really have a better option, but to be fair, he's on the other side. He's not a great option. Like that's just we kind of have the history of Jorge Mateo hitting against righties. Like that's just sort of the reality of the circumstances. But man, I guess I'd have to think about. I saw somebody do this exercise the other day of what the lineups would look like to start the season, righty and lefty.
So without Gunnar. Yeah,
without Gunnar, and I can't remember who did it. One of the beat writers did this exercise.
Gotcha.
I wish I could remember who it was. And
did they have Mullins leading off, or
no? And neither one. Well, obviously they had him out of the lineup against lefties.
Oh,
but this is gonna drive me nuts. It was over.
We got fresh pictures of the new left field
wall. I saw that
wall.
floating around this morning. Some new pictures. It was Jacob Calvin-Meyer. His projected lineup against righties was Cowser, Rutschman, O'Neill, O'Hearn, Westberg, Mountcastle, Mullins, Arias, Holiday.
That was a right-handed lineup.
Yes. So that's against right-handed righties. And then against lefties, Westberg, Rutschman, O'Neill, Mountcastle, Cowser, Sanchez, Arias, Laureano, and Holiday.
So he has Laureano platooning.
So he didn't have Mateo as an option in either one. So presumably the only thing that would really change is, I guess Holiday would go back to. Man, what would see? This is interesting, right? What would you do in this spot? I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna sit here and stare at it and spend too much time. We don't know that Mateo is going to be an opening day roster. We just know it's not going to be the Machine. That's the unfortunate part for him, and you have to go back to taking his shirt off and doing comedy around the country. And so he's got that going for him, which is nice.
It's kind of cool that he came so close to
right? Like pretty remarkable thing to be able to do that. and we will find out of the two of them who it will be. The other question would be, when will Kyle Gibson be available to the Orioles? And don't know. Don't know. And again, you can't help it because it's a reminder that you could have signed Kyle Gibson 4 weeks ago, and he could have been available to you to start the season. Now, I get it. You might say, well, we don't necessarily want that. We would, like, if you said to me today, would you rather have Cade Povich or Kyle Gibson in the rotation? I'd probably say right now, I'd rather look at Cade Povich and see if I can't get an answer on that. So I'm not going to push back too hard about how much it hurt them to not sign Kyle Gibson beforehand. But should somebody else get hurt in the first week of the season, again, it's that question of, you didn't feel like you needed to do this a couple weeks ago, and the answer might also be that they wanted to. And Kyle Gibson said, "I still think I can get multi-years from someone." I don't know who was going to do that ever at any point, but that might be the case. All right, so I think that's it as far as news is concerned and how things went yesterday. That said, we continue to look ahead to what's coming up later on this week. The Sweet 16, Thursday night out in San Francisco, Maryland taking on Florida. As I mentioned yesterday, I spent a good bit of time this weekend with the crew from the Fast Break portal on the March Madness app, hanging out with now UNLV coach Josh Pastner, Tony Delk, Jared Greenberg, and our next guest. A pleasure to welcome him back, a man who once played here in Baltimore in the NCAA tournament. He is former Wake Forest star, Mr. Randolph Childress, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Randolph, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
No, I appreciate you having me. I apologize. I'm a little nasally, man. Living in North Carolina and having allergies, they just don't mix. So right about now, I wish I was back home in the DMV area.
Man, on top of that, right? Like, you had to do like 1,000 hours of work this weekend. And I know, like, I use work loosely because I get it. You're watching basketball games. You're not digging ditches. But like,
you sound like my wife.
I mean, to be fair, like I say this whenever I complain about, I got to call like 3 games in a day. I'm like, right, I'm working, I'm going and watching games. But I say all that to say, I really thought maybe they'd like cycle you out, and I guess for like a minute on Friday night you got a little bit of a break. But man, like, you guys are really sort of in that room for the entirety of the week, huh?
Those are long days. I think the NCAA tournament is the busiest time. You probably meet in the morning, and you're on set from maybe 10 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Not including when you arrive and everything else. So they do a great job of kind of rotating us, giving us breaks throughout the day. But, those are long. Thursday and Friday are ridiculously long days.
No, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Well, I really enjoyed it, and obviously it was an enjoyable weekend for us here in Maryland as things worked out all right on Sunday. Randolph, I say this to say, I understand that sometimes this is what it takes in the NCAA tournament. Like, you're not going to win every game going away the way that they won their first-round game against Grand Canyon. And I do think it's a testament to this team that when they did face a team that was red-hot, very good, and that punched them in the mouth repeatedly, and that didn't back down even after they blew a lead and fell behind, I think the real story of what we saw was that this team, everything they've been through this year, 4 buzzer-beating losses, it looked like a 5th was going to end their season. The resiliency of this group is something that, to me, is really remarkable.
It's impressive, and I think credit to this team, Coach Willard and this group of guys, because it's been a challenge. Trying to figure out, sometimes I think when you don't have the guy per se, and Derik Queen has emerged. He's always been talented, but as a young freshman, you expect him to take his lumps and grow, and he's been dominant. But going to him with the way these guards have played with Gillespie and Rice and Miguel, the way these guys have played all year long, and particularly in that game in the second half, and to go to a freshman just shows you the confidence that he has in himself and that Willard has in him. But for this team, and this team has been through a lot, and to rise up in that moment when you've had so much failure in that moment is indicative of the character this team has shown. And credit to these guys. I mean, to get to where they are right now is a big-time win against a team that's really well coached, and that's a matchup issue for them. Having 5 outs Colorado State playing with so much in the perimeter, it forced Reese and Queen to defend on the perimeter more than they probably wanted to. And for Colorado State to hit that three to go up, and for Maryland to have the composure to come back and execute a play and finish the game is just impressive.
So now, what kind of chances do you give this team against Florida, Randolph? Because this Maryland team has competed with everybody all season long. They haven't lost a game by more than 6 points. That said, this is a different animal that you're up against in Florida. This is the team that was probably the best team coming into the tournament, given the caliber of competition they were playing in the SEC. They go 10 deep. They are dizzying fast. What does it take for Maryland to be able to match Florida and try to pull this off on Thursday?
I think it's going to boil down to, can they get bench production? And they have not all year long, because just to your point, the reason why Florida is favored by everybody, because when they go to their bench, there's no drop-off. They go to their bench, with Houck in the front line, and those guys coming in, and I can't think of the other guard. They got a guard, Treslar or whatever, comes off deep off their bench, even as the fifth guard. He's the fifth guard, and that's why I wanted to say in particular for him, Aberdeen comes off as the fourth guard, and the 3-guard, 1,000-point scores. It's going to be a tough matchup. It really is. Maryland didn't get any production from their bench. They haven't all year. That's why they have the name the Crab Five. Can someone step up and play and give quality minutes and some level of production via foul trouble or just playing well in that particular game is a must if they plan on getting past Florida. I think Florida's just a really deep, really talented team.
So I everything you just said is what concerns me, right? I'm over the depth dooms them. They've gotten through it all year long, and as everybody's pointed out, the timeouts are longer in the tournament, halftime's longer. There are benefits, but what you just said, like the idea of one player getting into foul trouble and how badly that hurts them, and even in moments you kind of start to see it in certain games where like they didn't seem like they fully had the legs at the end of the game on Saturday night, and they were missing some uncharacteristic free throws, and they were getting dominated on the glass. Like those are the little differences to me that do concern me going up against a team as good as Florida, Randolph.
Well, I think some of the free throws and some of the things you're talking about is nerves. Again, you're talking about a team that has not stepped up in close games when they needed to close them. And this team has figured out a way to do that, and credit to them. But they're facing a Florida team that's physical, that's going to force – it's going to be a physical game of basketball. The size, getting Hamilton back. They got Condon, Chinyelu on the front line, Houck. Those guys are just coming at you in waves. It's a good matchup for Maryland because they play with traditional bigs. They're not a small ball, stretch you type of team, even though they can play on the perimeter. So I think that favors Reese and Queen. The problem is Florida's going to start, Condon and Chinyelu, and then all of a sudden it changes. Now you got Houck coming in, and then like you said, you got Hamilton coming in. There's so much depth on the Florida team. That's the concern you got to have. They're gonna force the officiating because they're gonna be really, really physical, and that plays into their hand. But Maryland has their zone. I think they'll play more zone than people think, trying to protect those guys. I don't worry about. I'll say this: the depth doesn't worry me on the first game. If they make it to the Elite Eight, that quick turnaround is where depth bothers me. So I think they're okay. You got time to rest up all week. They're over it. They're young. They got time to prepare. It's more of the physicality of the game, of the team that they're playing, and the depth of the team that they're playing that concerns me for the Terps.
DC native Randolph Childress is with us here on GCR. Randolph, all of the stuff, and it's not going away, right? Like Villanova still hasn't hired a coach. There are still opinions that might just be Kevin Willard's job, and that's just the way it's going to go. It hasn't seemed to impact this team. Kevin Willard has been almost remarkably forthright in discussing it publicly, and I know that we're in a different era of college basketball. Is there any point where you think it matters, or is it totally possible that a team could continue and compete to win a national championship when they think that their coach might very well be headed for another job whenever it's over?
McNeese State and Will Wade showed that it can be done. To make that announcement right before the tournament, and then they come out and play the game that they played against Clemson and pull off the upset, shows you it can be done. So I don't think that's a question. This team has shown a mental toughness all year long. There was a lot of pressure on the staff and these players this year to have a good year, to make the NCAA tournament, to do what they've done. So they showed you a mental toughness about them that they can handle this situation. And in today's times, you got to be forthcoming. You've got to put it on the table. Let's be honest about this thing. It's pay for play. It's, in this NIL era, these kids' representation is already, they've been communicating with other schools. They've been contacted by their representation, or the representation has contacted other people. So that's just part of the course that's going on. You ask everybody to take care of their business in the moment. Those are the times we're living in, and it's playing out in the public, and everybody's curious about it. But I think I'd be surprised if an announcement for an extension for him isn't made, publicly. He's done what he's supposed to do. He's a heck of a coach. I don't know if Maryland, it'd be wise for Maryland to allow him to head off to Villanova. But, these are the times we're in, and he has the right now. It's good to be wanted. That's a big job. That's a really good job. So I hope there's no one behind the scenes level of arrogance thinking that they wouldn't take it because there's just less distractions. Those Big East jobs are being coveted because there's no football.
Right. You don't have to compete.
Those are big jobs that you got no football. You got no one to share your money. You don't have to play second to anyone in the athletic department. As we saw with Jay Wright in that group, there's an NIL package there. That is a damn good job. And I would, if I'm the president and everybody at Maryland, whoever's, I know your AD Evans just left and went to SMU.
Yep.
Someone needs to step up and get this done. If not, then you risk starting over for a program that obviously reached these heights.
But you just pointed out, like when you said the word starting over, and as much as because I'm with you, I have been so impressed by the coaching acumen of Kevin Willard this year, like beyond the way that they built, this group of 5 players, but just the way this team has performed out of timeouts this season, like has been unbelievable to me. And I've just really found myself enamored with the coaching acumen of Kevin Willard. And so as much as to me it would hurt to lose Kevin Willard, there's what you just said, the starting over part of it. Kevin Willard's at Villanova next year. You know who I guarantee is on that roster with them is Rodney Rice and Jacoby Gillespie, right? Like that he just says.
Exactly. He's taking these guys out the door with him. That's starting over. So everyone makes the assumption that it's just so easy to get a player, get a coach and just kind of – it's not. It's not because coaches got to get it right. And you wait until he gets it right. Now you got to live through finding another guy and hope that you get it right. And then hope that guy can bring in players and keep players and adapt to the times that are going on. So he's figured it out. They're in the middle of a Sweet 16 run, a chance to shock everybody and beat Florida. But he's a heck of a coach. Things are abnormal because of the situation with the athletic director leaving. So it forces people that are not accustomed to having to deal with all of this, deal with it. But I'd be surprised if they don't get things done. Like by lunchtime tomorrow, I'd really be surprised if there's not. I would do it to avoid the distraction, to kill all the noise about him leaving. And I wouldn't want to lose a really good basketball coach to Villanova and having to start over, particularly now because you're so late. Like there's been so much of a movement.
Right,
you're behind now. You're behind the 8 ball now.
Yeah. By the way, Nico Medved might have been the guy, right? Like one of these guys that already got a job might have been the best hire that you could. Ryan Odom, for example, who went to Virginia, could have been the guy. By the way, I hope you're right every day that goes by that they don't hire a coach at Villanova. Because I'm thinking the exact same thing. Like, why wouldn't Villanova want to have their guy in place at this point?
Well, because I think there's some substance to this, right?
Yeah.
I think they identified this coach, and they're like, hey, if you don't have many years left. His buyout isn't that much. He hasn't signed an extension. Same thing you said. I like the guy after time. I've been up there to watch him work out. I enjoy what he does.
Mm-hmm. I
think he does a good job of allowing former players to come back. I was there and he was allowing former coaches to come there and work and talk to his players. He's handled. That's not an easy job with everything that comes with it, with all the balancing all the former players and the AAU coaches and everybody in that area. There's a lot coming with that DMV job, the Maryland job, than just doing that. And he, to me, handled that part of it really well. And I just think you're flirting with danger if you allow him to move on and kind of start over and make some assumption that the next guy is going to come in there and do the exact same thing.
I understand that. Randolph, before I let you go, if I could, there's been a lot of talk about the kind of chalky nature of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, which to me, even as a guy that loves all of the upsets, and it's okay that not every year has that. Like that, it's part of what makes it special. If it happened constantly, then it wouldn't be as special when it occurred. But the opinion seems to be that this new era of college basketball is going to make this the norm, that you're not going to have mid-majors that are going to be able to build to a place where they have veteran players who are ready to go win a game like this because they're all going to be rated by these major conference programs to get their players. I feel like that's overdramatic. I get the thought. I still think we saw enough games where it was close and lower-seeded teams had chances to pull off upsets that I feel like I think we're clutching our pearls a little bit about this where, yes, there's something to what's being said, but to suggest that means there's never going to be like a 14-over-3, or a 15-over-2 upset again, I think is nuts.
I'll say this. It's the most ridiculous thing to say, and I don't point. I've heard many of my colleagues and many people have said that. I think everybody is on a Monday morning quarterback. Truthfully, what's happening in that aspect, it's always happened. Not just the NIL era. Teams where kids were transferring up when they made it. It's ridiculous because you got a lot of high major kids that are not playing that go down every year. There will be an upset soon. That's just the nature of this year. This year, we even said this on the show in studio when we watched. This isn't the year of low seeds going really far. And I don't consider Arkansas a surprise. That's NBA talent that just didn't play well early and they had some injuries, and then now they've gotten healthy and they're figuring things out. This wasn't the year for the surprise. This team. There wasn't going to be any Cinderellas or teams coming up. I know St. Peter's running an Elite Eight run because the top teams were dominant from what we're seeing right now. There's some injuries there, but the top two seeds in each bracket, I said the national champion will come out of the top two seeds, and I thought Iowa State's been compromised, maybe a Texas Tech at 3, but it's just dramatic. Everybody's being overly dramatic. It's Monday morning quarterback that don't follow the sport. Drake was close. Colorado State, we're a whistle from calling Derik Queen a travel from having
Colorado
it was
never
State
happening.
In the Sweet 16.
No.
And I'm not saying it would happen or should happen.
Right.
I'm glad they didn't do it, but I'm just saying that's how close we are to having an unexpected program in the Sweet 16. So to sit here and go, the NIL is ruined, it doesn't, because if you had Bryant was a team, everyone that didn't notice it and watch Bryant gave Michigan State all they can handle. That's a high major roster from local kids. They had Ja'Kai Robinson from DeMatha and Earl Timberlake from DeMatha High School playing at Bryant, 6'6" guards that was giving Michigan fits. Giving Michigan State, fits in the first round. So as much as we talk about them taking, it goes the other way. Guys that don't excel with talent, like I said, 4-star guys, 5-star guys like this don't go to high major schools, and for whatever reason it doesn't work out. They find themselves at mid-major programs and they just excel, and that's gonna happen again. This year just wasn't the year for it, but I think it's a little bit premature for any of these guys to say that. And I've heard a lot of guys saying that, and to be quite honest, I think it's ridiculous.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Randolph, I saw you're back with doing Field of 68 again now that they let you out of the bunker for the tournament.
Well, I got to stay with my guys. I got to stay with my Jeff. It's crazy these guys are. No, they're fun guys, and they're great to work with.
Anything else that you're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks that we can plug for you?
Oh, no, I'm headed to G League now. G League playoffs about to start. I was going to be able to go to the Final Four with those guys. I can't. I just got the call yesterday, so I'll be calling some G League playoff games. So work continues. My job, and I'm saying that in quotations,
right.
I got to go to work. I got to go to work.
Real tough life. Real tough life. Randolph, always appreciate you, man. Thank you for spending some time with us this morning. Let's do it again
soon, all
right?
Sounds good, guys. Go Terps.
Love that. That's an ACC guy saying that. That's an old school. That dude, I can't believe that he just said those words. Man, you imagine sending that audio to Tim Duncan, Randolph Childress saying "Go Terps"? Yo, they had some wars between Maryland and Wake Forest. That's the most shocking. That was going to be nondescript, right? Like, not that, I mean, it was great.
Should I have left them on?
It was a great segment. It was a tremendous segment. But nothing that he said in that segment was as electric as Randolph Childress. See, you don't.
No,
Griffin's
well,
way too.
so the
he's
funny
way too
thing
young.
is, I saw because Jeff Teague, all those videos of Jeff Teague's in his podcast going around, and which are always funny. He did a one where he dunked on Dave Neal.
Okay. I mean, this is still going back a bit before. Like, you're still.
I'm still not in.
Yeah,
in
you're
the
still
weeds,
not
still
into
not in
the
weeds there.
You're still not there.
But I was like, oh wow,
Dave Neal,
but he was like, man, I
the
effing
mayor,
hate Maryland. That
the
was
mayor
what
of
Jeff Teague
College
said.
Park, Dave Neal. What a great guy Dave Neal was, man. I love that dude.
And Jeff Teague was talking about how he was so excited to ruin Dave Neal's senior night. And
God, who was it? Was it LaRon Profit that hit a buzzer-beating game winner for Maryland against Wake Forest? That definitely was after the buzzer, but it predates them going to replay for this. I want to say, God, I got to figure out. I got this memory. They won at Wake Forest. Wake Forest was, if not number 1, they were in the top 10 for sure. And there was a buzzer beater. I'm pretty sure it was Profit on a kick out. The ball went inside. I assumed to Joe Smith. Maybe it was somebody else. Maybe it was Keith Booth that it went inside to. And
Terps Profit from buzzer beater. That's funny.
There we go. There we go.
Washington Post headline.
Yeah. Who kicked it out? And what was Wake Forest ranked?
Team. Hold on now. Wow, Wake Forest was number 2.
Number 2. That's what they were. They were number 2.
I gotta subscribe to the Washington Post.
Son of a bitch.
Hold on.
Whatever.
I was just gonna read the.
They went inside, and it was one of those. It was like the Derik, like the ball's gonna die here, right? Like whatever's happening, this is what's happening. What year was it?
97.
97. So it must have been Booth.
LaRon Profit hit a 3-pointer at the buzzer to hand Wake Forest. His first loss of the season after Tim Duncan tied it with free throws with 17 seconds left.
That happened.
Why can't I find a box score here?
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, the moral of the story being
119-97.
Shot definitely was after the buzzer. It was absolutely after the buzzer. But it counted, and Maryland won that game. And so to think of Randolph Childress saying, "Go Terps," that's crazy. All right, Patrick Stevens joins us next as we will continue to discuss Maryland, the Sweet 16, and much more right here on GCR.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
March is a slam dunk at Live Casino. Catch all the basketball action and more at Sports and Social. Enter our $80,000 Dolce & Gabbana giveaway on March 28th. And catch the Baltimore baseball jersey giveaway March 31st. Take your shot at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCRs, continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. Into the spring sports season at the high school level, boys and girls lacrosse, baseball, softball, big games already. I know conference play starts in the MIAA like this week, so if you've missed a lot already, find out everything you need to know by going to countysports.zone. That's countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Scores, schedules, updates, rankings, news, everything when it comes to high school sports for every team, every school, every sport throughout the state of Maryland. Find it again, countysports.zone. There's a non-zero chance that this man knows the answer that we're trying to come up with. It is Tuesday. Every Tuesday we talk hoops and lacrosse with our friend from USA Lacrosse Magazine, The Washington Post, Blue Ribbon, amongst other places, and at Discourse on social. He is Mr. Patrick Stevens, and he's back with us this morning. Patrick, good morning, my friend. How are you?
I am well. What is this
the
riddle
query?
you have
Yeah,
for
the
me?
query that I have. So this floored me. Randolph Childress was just on with us, right? And he at the end of the segment, not for no reason whatsoever, I said, Randolph, thank you for taking the time. And he said, you got it, go Terps, which floored me, right? Like Randolph Childress saying that, because I remember those battles that Maryland and Wake Forest had. And I was trying to explain to Griffin the famous LaRon Prophet buzzer beater, but I couldn't remember if it was Keith Booth that kicked it out to him for the buzzer beater to beat then undefeated number 2 Wake Forest on the road, because I remember everybody thought the ball was going inside, and it was like at the very last moment that I got kicked back outside, and I think it was by Keith Booth, and that was what I was hoping you might remember, because you know lots of things off the top of your head.
Well, I didn't necessarily know that, but I was going to point out that Childress is a DC guy.
He is a DC guy. I understand that, but still, like they had some battles over those years.
They did. But it wasn't as if he taunted the Terps the way he did Ed Cota that one time.
That's fair.
Remember in the
yes, I do.
tournament?
I do remember that. I do remember that. Though.
Well, let's see here as I do a quick.
I signed Griffin to this, and we were struggling to come up with it.
So it was indeed Keith Booth.
There you go.
Upon a quick Google search.
Look at that. Look at
that.
So
this is from the Washington Post game story from that day in 1997.
Yep.
Duncan was running to double team senior forward Keith Booth. But Booth, the Terrapins' closest facsimile to a star, stopped his drive to the basket and passed the ball to sophomore forward LaRon Prophet on the right wing. Prophet nailed a three-pointer to give the Terrapins a 54-51 victory.
Perhaps fitting that we're discussing Maryland buzzer beaters this morning. Perhaps look at the timeliness of that.
How about that,
Patrick?
First Maryland buzzer beater in the tournament since Drew Nicholas.
That's
right?
correct. Absolutely, that is correct. Patrick, I don't think there's any I think it would be easy 24 hours removed for there to be some Maryland fans who are like, wow, did they need to go down to the buzzer against Colorado State? I think Colorado State's really good, and I think a lot of people knew they were one of the hottest teams in the tournament coming in. I think that we all should have known that this was going to be that type of battle, and while I don't know that Maryland played 40 great minutes, I don't think it should be at all surprising that it came down to the final moments to beat a team that was as good as Colorado State is.
Yeah, I thought they might have been able to create a little bit more separation, but I agree. Like Colorado State, I had Colorado State as a 10 seed, and the committee seemed to have just believed that, well, we'll just plug them in as a 12 and let them go from there, which, let's face it, like Memphis being injured was probably more like a 7 seed, and Colorado State should have been at least a 10 seed, And so that first round game was more like a 7-10 than a 5-12. I mean, you kind of look through what Maryland did, and, they shot 10 of 24 from three. They only had 6 turnovers. They did a lot of really good things. They did have some issues on the glass, but still had more second chance points. And so you saw a Colorado State team that had a fair number of older guys, Clifford and Lake and guys like that. And so, Bourne's a guy that's like a 4th or 5th year guy coming over from Northern Iowa. So, if nothing else, I think basketball fans at large should be grateful that actually was a great finish to a game on a weekend that was completely starved of them otherwise. And so, Maryland, averted disaster there with that last second bucket by Queen. The two things that, the one, obviously there were enough people talking about the possible travel. I actually thought that there was time left, and they never did, like 0.2.
Oh, after the ball went in? Okay.
After the ball went in, and it never got looked at, and it was strange to me that didn't happen. But that's minor. It's highly unlikely that Colorado State would have made anything out of 0.2 seconds having to go to the length of the floor. But certainly, if you're Maryland, having been to one Sweet 16 in 20 years, you simply don't argue with how you had to get there this time.
So Florida, let's just talk about the basketball stuff, and then we'll deal with everything else. I think everyone's Florida's a bad matchup for anyone, right? It's not unique to Maryland. They are loaded. They are deep. They push. They just do so many things well. I've listened to arguments from people that Maryland's defense uniquely could make them as feisty as UConn was against Florida and what they do in transition, and I can hear that, but it's still just this is where the depth thing really comes, is that they are going to pull guys off that are going to have fresh legs throughout the course of that game, and I don't know what Maryland's going to be able to do against that.
Well, I think one of the interesting things is I have Florida's KenPom profile up as we're talking here. Florida's only 228th in bench minutes nationally.
That's crazy.
Which is better than Maryland, obviously.
They've got 5 guys that average double-digit minutes off the bench. That's nuts to me that there are that many teams that have. I'm not, obviously, I'm not trying to debate the fact.
Yeah. I'm just pointing out that they've got guys, but there's a difference between guys that are like around 10 or 12 minutes a game and guys that are a little bit more than that. So, or a lot less than that, obviously, too. I think that you're looking at a team in Florida that is just a ruthless offensive machine. I mean, you look at them, and the only team that's more efficient nationally than them at the offensive end is Duke, which is pretty good company. They're number 11 nationally in defense too, which is something that stands out as well. Now that's a little weaker than Maryland, but the offensive number is considerably better. So they've got an All-America guy in Walter Clayton, another one of these guys that transferred up and figured out a way to thrive. He was a guy that played for Patino at Iona and spent the last 2 years really enhancing his resume and his reputation at Florida. But they've just got a lot of dudes, and they've been playing extremely well pretty much since they lost that game to Tennessee at the start of February. They lost that game by 20, scored only 44 points, and they have just been on a roll since then. Lost only once. It was that game at Georgia where Georgia played really well, let Florida back in, and then survived. And so a team that's won 14 out of 15, a team that is going to put up a ton of points. I mean, 77 against UConn is their fewest since that Tennessee game. And so it's a tough matchup, like you say, for anybody. And I do kind of wonder if there will be a little bit of depth issues there. I still wonder what happens when Maryland runs into an officiating crew that calls things really tight.
Right.
And that to me is the far greater issue than, are they going to get tired running up and down the floor? And in fairness, Florida does like to run 61st in adjusted tempo.
Yeah.
But I think the greater issue there is that going to be the day that they get a tight whistle.
Patrick Stevens is with us here on GCR. All right, I'm just going to broadly put it out there. How about the rest of it? How about all of the other stuff that they're dealing with at the moment?
What order do you want to go in? You want to go in? We'll start with the head coaching situation.
Yeah, it's all of it, isn't it all directly? It's the part of the conversation that's very difficult to me, Patrick, which is that like it feels like we're talking about a coach's contract, but I think it's far bigger than that. It's a question about like the state of college athletics and big-time college athletics, and the thing that you and I have talked about a million times, just as a school like Maryland that is in no ways a football school but is not interested in giving up on football money, and so they have to feign like they're a football school, and at some point that's going to hurt them basketball-wise.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week, right? Like,
Yep.
I mean, I feel like that's a pretty fresh conversation there. We'll start with why is Willard shaking the money tree right now? Well, he's shaking the money tree right now for many reasons. One of which is that he wants more money, the obvious one. But he's got 4 years left on his deal after this year. Coaches love to have as much security as possible. If I was a coach, I'd love to have a ton of security right now, just because you don't know how things are going to go in terms of how much money coaches are going to make over the long haul now, as players get more and more and more of it. And he has more leverage right now than he did certainly a year ago. So can't really blame him on that front. Yes, Maryland should probably spend more money on basketball than most of its peers in the Big Ten. No, Maryland probably shouldn't spend as much on football as when it's only going to get them to the middle of the pack in all likelihood. I mean, that's just kind of the reality of the situation. And I've said this to a number of people in the last week, and I might have even said it here last week, but I'll repeat myself. Let's just look at the last two school years. Last year, Maryland went 8-5, beat Auburn in a bowl game in football, and went 16-17. And then this year, they went 4-8 in football, and they're in the Sweet 16 in basketball, which has led to a happier fan base.
Obviously, it's this.
I mean, it's not even close, right? So, at some point, you do just have to keep your people happy. So let's also dive into the other element of this,
right.
which is the athletic director.
Damon Evans, yes.
Okay, so I believe you will recall me saying many times during the last coaching search at Maryland that athletic directors have some say, but not all of them have as much say as others do. And so I suspect that that's not as necessarily as important to everything as some people would like to make it out to be. So there is obviously a little bit more onus here on presidential leadership at Maryland at the moment. But, I think, more and more, and I would particularly say this to be the case at schools that don't have like long-running 15 to 20-year ADs, that athletic director spot is just kind of a public-facing sort of vice president of the university type of thing, right? And so I don't know that matters as much as a lot of people wanted to make it out to be last week.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I tend to agree with you. It still feels like that you need to have some amount of cohesion. Like the people that are involved in these, they need to be capable of working together and functioning together. But then somebody would say, yeah, well, how did, other than Gary Williams and Debbie Yao, right?
That is a fair point. So,
like, as soon as I say those words, I find myself thinking back to that. Like, well, maybe not. Although to be fair,
I mean, the thing that you would walk away from that era was like, imagine what Maryland could have done if everybody
got along,
was going in the same direction,
right?
Yeah. So,
and maybe there is an argument to be made that perhaps
I do think this is an opportunity for Maryland to hire from a relative position of strength. You think back, the way that the way the situation was with the Kevin Anderson's sabbatical and all that other stuff, and sort of this strung along search and whatnot, and then of course the timing of the actual permanent hire was about as dreadful as possible, 2 or 3 weeks after Jordan McNair died. So, that was the last time. The time before that, I mean, there were 2 bombs that were basically just handed to Kevin Anderson. There was the
coach in waiting.
The James Franklin head coach in waiting deal is coming up soon, and you got to make a decision there.
Yep.
And the financial problems that everybody knew existed in that athletic department that had sort of come to roost, and having to deal with that, and ultimately it led to sports being cut. And so I don't look at Maryland as a place where right now you're in a terrible financial situation. You could be in better financial situation if, for example, like you filled your football stadium all the time, but that's neither here nor there. And then, I don't think that it's an uncomfortable time in the way that it was in 2018. This is somebody that just left for a better job. There's none of that sort of, weirdness kind of hanging over things. So it's an opportunity for Maryland. It's a Big Ten job. That means something. And I'll be very curious to see, what they're able to do there with that job. And the first time that they've probably had a serious, opportunity to really open that up, given how really strange things were when the last time it opened up with Anderson on his sabbatical and whatnot back in 2018 or so.
Patrick Stevens with us on GCR. Patrick, on the local front, there was obviously one significant story this week as Ed DeChellis announced his retirement from Navy. Just a thumbnail to you. I know it never worked out for him leading them to the Patriot League tournament, but a good steward and generally competitive the entire time. A thumbnail on Ed DeChellis and what might be next for Navy. Yeah,
I think first off, I would say that I thought that Ed might have done one of his best coaching jobs at Navy this season.
Mm-hmm.
That team that I saw a couple times in early November did not look anything like a team capable of going 10-8 in the Patriot League, of making a conference final, that kind of thing. And I would agree with you that once you threw out those first 3 seasons or so, when he took over a situation that was not in very good shape. The cupboard was pretty bare at that point. And you go past those first 3 seasons and, the worst that Navy was in conference play from then on was 8-10.
Yeah.
And so that's not an easy thing to do. It becomes harder in the current era, I think. And I think overall Ed did a really, really good job. I mean, what were there? A couple 20-win seasons in there, 18-13 a couple years ago, had some really good players pass through, did a lot, to kind of promote the sport and the brand. The Veterans Classic was his idea, certainly deserves credit for that. Curious to see how that continues without his Rolodex to work with there. I certainly hope that it does. Certainly, I think Navy finds itself in a better spot now than it was 14 years ago when the job opened last. I'm pretty sure Ed would, in his heart of hearts, love to see John Perry get promoted. There's some interesting possibilities. Chet Gladchuk has a history of doing a lot of different things. A lot of the coaches that they've hired in other sports have been like really successful D3 coaches that are used to dealing with high-end academic institutions. At the same time, a hire like Ed DeChellis the last time was a bit surprising.
Right.
Didn't necessarily see that one coming. So I do think that depending on how the roster shakes out, that they're in a pretty decent spot for next season. And whoever comes in is going to have an opportunity. Or if they stay in-house, whoever is already familiar with things and is already around is going to have an opportunity to have at least a top half of the Patriot League team, if not one, capable of making that first NCAA tournament in Annapolis since 1998.
Because I gave the question to Randall, I should give it to you as well, because I think you kind of alluded to it a little bit when you set up how the weekend went. Your thoughts on the really loud sort of echo chamber about how this is the end of the upset era of the NCAA tournament, because moving forward, all of the mid-majors will continue to be rated, and they won't be able to put together veteran teams that can go knock off the best teams in the country.
Well, first off, remember that this is the last year you're going to have a ton of those fifth-year guys floating around.
Until they give everybody 5 years of eligibility. until that happens.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, we got the JUCO guys getting their extra year and all that. I get it. So I want to go back to 2006, and everybody thought that George Mason making the Final Four could be this great thing that ushered in some new era. And then the next year, the lowest seeded team to make the Sweet 16 was a 7, I think, UNLV. And the year after that, there were 4 number 1 seeds, and there's thought, oh, well, are there going to be any upsets anymore? And, is it just going to be like, is this how it's going to be? And then 2 years later, Butler makes the national title game.
Right.
And the year after that, Butler and VCU make the Final Four. I think things are going to cycle through one way or the other. And, there's still a lot to sort out. I do think that the sport getting younger will mean that it's going to be a little harder you're not necessarily going to poach players quite as quickly, I don't think. Although, as I look at, for example, the Metro Atlantic and nearly the entire all-conference team was into the portal by yesterday evening, maybe there is something to be said for that. But we're still only a few years removed from St. Peter's being in an Elite Eight. We're still only a couple years removed from Fairleigh Dickinson winning a first-round game.
That's true.
Good teams don't necessarily in a single elimination format. A good team can pop off a game or two without having the most talent if they've got some cohesion, if they've got a group that's been together, if they're, if they do happen to be a little bit older or late bloomers or something like that. Did I think that the first couple rounds of this year's tournament were a little unsatisfying? Yeah, I you basically take out the Maryland buzzer beater and you take out the Alabama State first 4 game, and then obviously a handful of double-digit seeds. That Drake beating Missouri wasn't terribly surprising, and
right.
I think McNeese doing it the way it did against Clemson was a little surprising, but McNeese being good wasn't surprising. I'm willing to call this an aberration until you see like multiple seasons where it's not where it's kind of dry and chalky the way it was this year.
I agree completely, totally and completely. You want to skip lacrosse again and just get to the game?
Let's get to the game.
Let's play it. Can Patrick Stevens name the teams this particular MLB player played for? And, of course, we've been doing the didn't make an all-star game but was an Oriole theme. I will admit I only got 2 of these. 5 teams, but one, of course, being the Orioles. The man they called Beef, Wellington Castillo.
Wellington Castillo, okay. Well, he was definitely besides being an Oriole,
yes,
he was definitely a Cub, correct?
He was a Cub, and I had forgotten, and that was 6 years. I don't know how I had blanked on that.
Pretty sure he was a Diamondback.
He was for 2 years.
And so we're left with 2 more relatively short stops, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Well, one was a very short stop. The other one was actually the 2 seasons after Baltimore, and this is one that I knew, but it was only because I remember him like, oh, they're facing Wellington Castillo. That's the reason why I remembered this.
Do I vaguely recall him as a Marlin?
Not as a Marlin, no.
No? Okay. And did he end up with the White Sox?
That's exactly where he ended up, yes. So there is no shame in this because the stint you're forgetting was 6 games long with the Seattle Mariners. That was where the other stint was for Wellington Castillo. Next up, as we always go to a 4-team guy, someone who remains active, an All-Star, a World Series champion, and a Gold Glove winner, 4 teams for Andrew Benintendi.
Boston.
Yes.
Kansas City.
Of course.
The White Sox.
Yes.
And then wherever he got shipped off to
at
the
the
end
date,
of last.
Well, it was actually in 2022. He was a deadline. There was between the Royals and the White Sox. There was a stop.
Oh, there was. Okay.
Yes.
I don't know. St. Louis?
No, it was the Yankees, actually, was the other stop. So I did get that. And then I'll give this to you: 5 teams, an all-star once. Oh, man, now this feels ball busting. But you know what? I actually think this is going to be the one you knock out of the park. Donna Ossie was the last name I had on the list.
Oh, okay. All right. We got the Angels.
Yeah.
And the Red Sox.
Uh-huh.
And the Orioles.
Uh-huh.
And the Dodgers.
Uh-huh.
And the Mets.
There you go. Why did I know you were going to go 5 for 5 on, of all people, Donna Ossie? Why did I just know that was going to be the case? Patrick, are you doing lacrosse this weekend at all?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be at Maryland Penn State on Saturday.
Obviously.
So that'll be both teams coming off a loss.
Yep.
Neither wants to be 0-2 in the Big Ten.
No doubt.
So that's kind of a big one for both of them. That, you know, 2 teams that I think people were very, very high on a week ago. I'd still be pretty high on both of them, particularly Maryland. Lost a coin flip to a desperate Michigan team.
That for some reason, it has their number. Go figure.
Yeah, it's amazing. I actually managed to squeeze that in on Saturday.
Okay.
And so, you know, look, Maryland, you know, probably didn't play as well as it would have liked, but they still got a couple decent individual performances, and Michigan just played really well and kind of milked the clock a bit and did a good job. I mean, I thought that result said a lot more about Michigan than it did about Maryland.
I tend to agree with that. At Discourse, D1S Course on Blue Sky and on Twitter. Patrick Stevens, always appreciate you, my friend. Let's talk again next Tuesday, all right?
Awesome. Thanks so much.
That's Patrick Stevens with us every Tuesday here on GCR, and I apologize to him that we ran long today. I mean, I think he would have told us if he had the bolt, because he's one of my close friends, but I just looked down and realized it was 11:11 and said, holy crap. Did not intend for it to go that way. Let me just follow up quickly, because as I always say, I don't want to ever give away. Like, Jeff Erman is on top of this, and if I were you, particularly right now, given the nature, I would be following him, and I'd be subscribed to InsideMDSports.com. And I've known Jeff for a long time. I briefly worked with Jeff when I was hosting the IMS radio show with him. I don't ever want to take away anything that he does to make a living, right? Like the information. Every day that Villanova doesn't hire a basketball coach, I'm going to be more and more concerned that it's because they've got their basketball coach. It's weird how little reporting we've seen on the Villanova side of this story, right? Like, we just haven't seen. I think there was someone who was like kind of maybe someone who I don't even know if is a Jeff Erman type. Like, I think a lot of the country would look at Inside MD Sports and say, what is that? Whereas we here know if Jeff Erman's saying it, it's solid. So there was somebody over the weekend that was connected to the Big East that did bring up the idea of Richard Pitino being in play for the Villanova job. And after some of the other dominoes had fallen, we had heard originally Ryan Odom, Chris Collins, and Kevin Willard. Obviously, Ryan Odom's off the table. We think Chris Collins is off the table because he agreed to a contract extension. As I said yesterday, you know, it's happened before where somebody agrees to a contract extension and then leaves, so we can't say it's impossible. But we presume that means that happened because Chris Collins is no longer a candidate at Villanova. Well, if that was the case, and the only 3 names we knew about to begin with were those 3, then only one of them would still be in play. We did hear Richard Pitino's name be brought up. Every day that goes by, if they wanted Richard Pitino, they could have hired him yesterday. Didn't take long for Minnesota to announce Nico Medved, did it? As soon as New Mexico lost, Richard Pitino was available. Well, it's Tuesday at 11:14 a.m. And to my knowledge, Richard Pitino is not the head coach at Villanova. Now, does that mean that he couldn't still be? Of course not. But if that was the guy, why wouldn't he be at this point? I'm trying to think of even the other 16 teams that are still playing. Is there someone that would be an obvious choice that could still, be on the move?
You guess
Like someone,
Kevin Young, maybe from
maybe,
BYU.
right? Like maybe that would be somebody that, like, if you were holding the job for someone else who's still coaching, I could listen to the argument for Kevin Young. I don't know how much of advantage there is from the Church of the Latter-day Saints that you'd want to hold on to that job. Clearly, Mark Pope was happy to leave, but clearly that's a unique circumstance. He's a Kentucky guy, and it's Kentucky. But, Villanova might be in play too. It seems to me that the only one of the coaches that are coaching that would be in play would be Kevin Willard. I don't know anything. Everybody that I had talked to last week thought that it was going to work out. Randolph Childress certainly thinks it's going to work out. But every day, there's neither an announcement of a contract extension at Maryland nor an announcement of a new Villanova coach. And one of the things that's being brought up is it bluster on Kevin Willard's part? Is he stringing along Villanova to get what he wants at Maryland? Like, is this a double agent thing where he's telling Villanova,
and
like,
that still makes it very weird though that Villanova hasn't hired anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, but he could very well be saying to Villanova, "I'm your guy,"
yeah.
But saying that or telling his agent or his agent's playing the game of specifically telling them that, like, hey, we got to wait, but like we want to go there while also still negotiating with Maryland. That might very well be the case, and I would tell you that I spoke to someone around the school who thought that was the case, that Kevin Willard needed the Villanova job to be open to get what he wanted. But ultimately, if Villanova, I keep coming back to it. If you sat me down and said at the end of the day, you happy? I'm like, yeah, I'm happy. Okay. The money will be negligible one way or the other. You just said to me, Glenn Clark, whatever you're doing, money's going to be about the same. But if you came, let's just hypothetically, right? Let's say the Baltimore Sun said, you come and work for us. You do the same thing you're doing, but we can also hire you 4 more staffers. Now, let me make it abundantly clear. The Baltimore Sun cannot do that.
Dang.
Right?
All right, son.
Yeah, they can't. I assure you. But this is just hypothetical. We can hire you a complete your money will be about the same as it was over there. Maybe a little bit more, but mostly the same. But we can hire you a complete staff, and there'll be a bigger push to get you out there. And I'm not trying to. This isn't me taking shots at anything here. This is just ultimately you sat me down and said, "Would that be worth leaving?" I got to think about that. Like, probably. And that's sort of the way that I feel about the Kevin Willard Villanova thing. Which is, it's really hard if at the end of the day Villanova keeps saying, what is it that they're going to give you to spend on players at Maryland? It's always going to be more here. They said they'd up it from $4 million to $5 million. Great. We're 7. It's always going to make my life easier, make my job easier to be there. So, I don't know. I can't tell you what's going to happen. But I would tell you that every day that goes by, I'm more and more concerned that the answer is Maryland's going to need a basketball coach. And players. Because as I keep saying, I said to Randolph Childress, if Kevin Willard goes and he's got a war chest, he's going to start that war chest with the 2 guards that are slated to be back at Maryland next year. And, that's further from home for both of them, like Rodney Rice's Virginia and Jacoby Gillespie's Tennessee. But it's not dramatically further. It's not like he'd be taking the job at Minnesota for the 2 of them to say, got to go up and spend a year in Philadelphia. Like after I was, it's not that far. Okay. it seems, and on the flip side, if I stay here, it's to work for a coach that I don't know, or play for a coach that I don't know at all. I think I know what I'm doing. I'm not trying to cause panic or say that I know something or anything like that, but I would tell you personally, my gut, every day that goes by without an extension being announced or Villanova hiring a coach, I think it's more and more likely that they've got a coach. Now, go win a national championship, right? Like, go, whatever. You do that and you leave, I'm not going to care. Get this team to the Final Four, I'd be bummed if you left, but go win a national championship and do whatever the F you want.
Or that gives them, the ultimate leverage. And
yeah,
I
sure.
just went to the Final Four, so really going to let me walk out the door? Yeah.
But I ultimately think the answer is I everything that Patrick said and everybody's opinion is, yes, they should take some of that football money and give it to basketball. I completely understand what you're saying. I do. And in a vacuum, I think you're right. Are your resources better spent on football or basketball at Maryland? It's a basketball school. That said, it's easy for me to say that. For a CEO to say, hey, this is the expectation that's been laid out by the Big Ten, a conference we want to stay a part of and a conference that we need to be a part of if we're going to be in the Super League, whenever the Super League begins. They think that your resources, we have to spend this amount of money in order to compete, in order to be a part of the Big Ten Football League. And if we don't, and we run the risk of being booted out of the Big Ten or them leaving us behind, then our budget is going to be slashed by this much. And that's going to impact everyone. As I said before, be prepared. There are going to be sport cuts coming. We're not talking about that right now, but it's going to happen. And I'm not saying that I blame. Like, we're going to have to figure this out at a lot of institutions, a lot of places where they're facing budget crises, like the University of Maryland, the university system, at some point is going to say, we're going to have to look at everything. And as you start spending money on athletes, like, the money's not being pulled out of thin air. It's not like suddenly they're just dropping, it's like the minor league baseball promotion where they just drop money on the field. Go get it. Drop candy on the field. Go get it. They're not suddenly showing up and flying over. Is it just Maryland Stadium, or do they have is it CQ Stadium? What's the name of the corporate sponsor?
Yeah, I think it is CQ now.
CQ
Stadium.
they're not just dropping a helicopter full of cash and saying, give this to your football players. It's coming from somewhere. It's $20 million that you had that now you're giving to players. Which is, I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm just saying it's got to come from somewhere. Like, it doesn't just get pulled out of thin air. They don't just have a Scrooge McDuck vault to walk into and say, let's get all of this money. Something's going to have to go. And it's easy to say, well, they might raise ticket prices. Well, yes, of course they're going to raise ticket prices. That part is obvious, as if they didn't have enough problems trying to sell football tickets to begin with.
Right.
This is the reality of the way. They're going to try to raise they're doing new media deals. That's how you're getting this money, is the media deal from the Big Ten that they just did with CBS and NBC. That's how you're getting that money. And so the Big Ten said, we just got that money for you to be able to go spend it. You better be spending it to put a good product on the field so that we have a good TV product to give to our network partners that just paid us all that money. So yes. Is Maryland a basketball school? Of course. Is Maryland ever going to break through in football, even as they're going to be spending $14 million? Probably not to the extent that you might dream they could. They're probably never going to be swimming in those waters.
Could it really happen that the Big Ten does cut ties with Maryland or schools, whatever school it is?
And whether it's the Big Ten or whatever the Super League is, at some point decisions are going to be made about who's a have and who's a have-not. That's going to happen. And I get it. I always like to argue against myself when I do this. The presentation will be that you're talking about something that we've now been talking about the Super League for, I'd say, 3 to 4 years. at this point as being a fait accompli that it's going to go that way. So someone would say, and we still don't even have a vision for it. We still don't even know yet what it's going to be. But make no mistake, the foundation is laid. They don't want to share their money. The haves want to keep as much of the money as they possibly can. And so either you're going to be a have that's going to help produce money for them, or you're going to be a have-not. And it is a different argument because Maryland's the best thing they had going for them as to why they would be considered a have was media market. What we bring with us is a major media market in D.C. and a secondary media market in Baltimore. That's pretty good. And that you don't have that without us. Now, perhaps, whenever we get to the Super League, they might say, well, we've got Virginia Tech, and that'll get us enough of D.C. that we're okay. And between Virginia Tech and Penn State, there's enough of these markets that'll be activated by the Super League that we'll take it. But that's the best thing that Maryland's had going for it, because that's the only reason they got out of the Big Ten, remember. The only reason they're in the Big Ten is because Big Ten Network was trying to get into more homes. They had launched as the only reason we knew anything about the Big Ten Network is because it was the only place you could watch the Appalachian State win over Michigan. It was the only thing anyone knew about the Big Ten Network, was that they launched it and got that. But nobody could watch it unless you lived in Chicago or Ohio. So they were trying to get it into more places. And in order to get Big Ten Network on television in these markets, they needed to have a team. As soon as Maryland joined the Big Ten, all of the local cable providers had to add the Big Ten Network. And that gave you these bigger media markets. That's why Rutgers got in, because it brought with them
New York.
You think that they actually gave a flying F about Rutgers? Do you think he wanted Rutgers in the Big Ten? They wanted New York. They wanted D.C.
Should have got Fordham or something. That would have been
football powerhouse.
Yeah. Exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting games.
When the Pac-12 fell apart, they said, "You mean to tell us we can have L.A.?" Yeah. Go right ahead. The only conference in the world that has the 3 biggest media markets. That's what Maryland had going for it. And maybe that'll be enough. Maybe forever that'll be enough to keep them in the halves. But the value of the media markets has already started to dissipate a little bit because of streaming, because of like the Big Ten Network is also, like all the other cable networks, is at some point going to die in the next 20 years. Well, yes, you still want CBS, still wants, in their world, if Maryland's good at football and the 3:30, Sunday afternoon game is, or Saturday afternoon game is Maryland-Penn State, that means that they know they're going to pull a strong number in the D.C. market. Like, they like the sounds of that. But is Maryland ever going to be good enough for them to think about that? God, remember the NBC's Saturday night game was Maryland-Charlotte? What a weird. It was an NBC Saturday night game.
Well, and how much of that is, if they're playing Ohio State, more people are going to be tuning in just.
But they know they've got that market. They want other markets. They want to know that another big market is going to be watching their network. They want to know that it's, with all due respect, Iowa is just not. It doesn't help them a ton to have Iowa. They want big markets. For obvious reasons. There's more people. You can get 100% of the Iowa market, or you can get like 30% of the D.C. market. And nobody ever gets 100% of the, But the point being, you want the big markets.
Iowa football might.
I don't think it's 100. But it's a lot. I'm sure they're very popular.
What else are they watching?
I understand. I understand what you're saying. All right. Cooper Rush is going to join us when we come back in, new Ravens quarterback. We're going to chat with him coming up next here on GCR.
March is a slam dunk at Live Casino. Catch all the basketball action and more at Sports and Social. Enter our $80,000 Dolce & Gabbana giveaway on March 28th. And catch the Baltimore baseball jersey giveaway March 31st. Take your shot at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
If you haven't picked up the print issue of Press Box yet, you're coming down to like the last couple of weeks for you to be able to get it on the cover. David Rubenstein, Orioles owner, sat down for a lengthy Q&A with myself and Stan the Fan Charles. Go pick it up today for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox, or read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Had to do this earlier because of his schedule and opportunity to meet one of the newest Baltimore Ravens here on GCR. Well, it's a pleasure now to welcome in one of the newest Baltimore Ravens to GCR. He is quarterback Cooper Rush, and he is with us this morning on the program. Cooper, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us, and welcome to Baltimore.
Appreciate it. Excited to be on. Excited to be here.
Absolutely, man. Cooper, there's so much that I want to cover with you. The first is I know you've only had a minute or so in Baltimore. Have you scouted the first course that you're going to play when you get back here to spend a little bit more time yet?
I have not yet. That is definitely in the plans, though.
I figured that had to be the case. So I did not know, where did golf come into play? Have you always been a golfer? Has it always been a big part of your life?
Yeah, I pretty much played it all growing up. This is kind of what me and my brothers did with my dad. And as I've gotten older, just more and more addicted to it.
That's the way it tends to work. Tell me about Path to Scratch. Where did that come from, and what's it all about?
Yeah, me and my brother started this company. We just started as a group chat of 10 dudes. We always talked golf and talked our journeys and a bunch of different handicap levels. And one day we're like, we're all on this Path to Scratch. Let's do something with it. And yeah, it's about building community and something that unites us in golf. Whether you're a scratch golfer or you're 18 handicap, the urge and the want and desire to hit the next great shot is pretty much the same.
What if you're more like 100 handicap? What about that?
I think the system goes up to 54.
Yeah. Well,
it counts.
Are you at the place yet where you're a scratch golfer?
No, I'm a 5.
Okay.
We're not there yet. We're still on the path.
I mean, that's pretty remarkable, man. Being a 5, that's incredible. And how many years have you been playing?
As long as I can remember, pretty much.
Wow, man. Wow, that's really cool, though. PathToScratch.com with the number 2 is the website to find out more about it. But that's really cool, and I am sure that there are no shortage of golf courses in this area that will look forward to having you out here in the coming months. Cooper, when someone comes to town, the first thing that I always think is like, hey, there's got to be a connection, right? Like, what's the connection? Who's the coach that they were with somewhere? And I will acknowledge that I have struggled figuring out what the connection is. Is there? And can you tell us a little bit more about how this came about that Baltimore ended up being the place for you?
No, yeah, first time meeting most of these guys. It kind of, like you said, came out of nowhere a little bit. But I think it's a perfect fit. Talked to Coach Harbaugh about it and Coach Monken, and we met over the week and felt really good and fulfill a need for the team. And excited to be part of an organization you see from afar the success they have and the stability and all things you hear is a good organization. So really excited to be a part about it.
Cooper Rush is with us here on GCR. When you find out it's Baltimore, they're interested, is the reaction, huh? Or is it more, Baltimore? Hell yeah, get me there. Like, what is the reaction when your agent tells you that?
Yeah, you're always excited when it's a good team.
Yeah,
definitely, and well-run organization. Like I said, they got players at every position. It's fun to be a part of teams like that. So yeah, it was excitement and get a taste of the AFC North, which you hear so much about. Will be awesome.
I feel like the obvious question is, do you ask, hey, did they think that I'm going to do all the same things that Lamar does? Like, do you have to have that conversation about, hey, you guys do some different things. Is that what I'm doing? And would you say, yeah, that's what I want to do. I'm definitely going to be able to run like Lamar next season.
I wish I could run like that. I'm really excited to see it up close, all the things he can do. He's shown over the years. And no, it's definitely, I mean, you watch him over especially last year, you watch the tape, and they're a lot more less QB run design than you think. Lamar does his thing when he has to and when he can, but they're throwing it all over the yard too and handing it to Henry.
That's not a bad way to run an offense, by the way. Like, it worked out pretty well for you. Cooper, that, like, all that said, is your, like, as part of the conversation, do you have to go spend time on that? Like, when you get the call, do you then say, hey, before I say yes, I want to go watch? Do you spend time watching film and getting a sense for the offense, or is it just conversations with Todd Monken? What is that like in making the decision to come somewhere like this?
Yeah, we sat down with Coach Monken for a while and talked about that stuff, and he kind of saw how he asked how you fit, and he explained how he sees me fitting, and then just you just bank a lot of memory off watching them the last couple of years. Like I said, and here in Dallas we played the AFC North last year, so got to see them a lot on tape, and so you kind of got a feel for what they're doing.
Obviously, that ended up being a thriller between the Ravens and the Cowboys last year. Cooper Rush is with us here on GCR. Cooper, your story is fascinating to me, man, right? Like, an undrafted free agent out of a place like Central Michigan, and here you are now in your 30s, and you're still in demand and probably coming off your most successful season as a pro. In that way, I feel like you've beaten the odds, right? Like, most guys that are in your shoes aren't doing this a decade later. How has it been different for you? How have you been able to not just survive in the league but thrive despite not having been put in the most beneficial circumstance to start your career?
Yeah, it's crazy to look back. You think that first year you're undrafted, you're just trying to make the team. But practice squad, at least, you just make them keep you, be good enough for them to at least have to keep you. And it turned into pretty much 8 years, which is insane to think about. And real fortunate to be in one spot that long. I just feel like physically you can get better every year. And I think people forget that in the NFL sometimes. Like, your ceiling isn't, what you are coming out of college. Guys at every position get better. And I think I just got a lot better and kept improving and took advantage of opportunities.
Can I ask about the psyche of being in the role that you've been in, obviously as a backup quarterback for your career? I would assume that as a competitor, everyone says, hey, man, if I have the opportunity, I'm one of the best quarterbacks in the league. As in your psyche and the way that you do this mentally, do you have to talk like that? Do you have to remind yourself, hey, I don't need to be that guy? Like, what I'm almost like asking for the towel of a backup quarterback, right? Like, can you sit down on a couch with me? How do you approach that in your preparation? Like, do you prepare every day like I'm Tom Brady? Like, when my name is called, I'm the best quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah, you kind of flip back and forth, into the backup role versus, when you're up and you're ready to play, or when you have to play because the starter gets hurt. You kind of flip a switch and you kind of talk yourself into a little bit, but you're ready to go. You trust yourself, and once you get back out there, you realize again, like, okay, this is who I am. Been doing this a long time, all growing up. It kind of, that feeling of being the guy, being the starter comes back pretty quickly. And if you own it and, really jump on that, you can have some success, I think. And then the backup role, you're just trying to be an asset. You prepare every week to play because that's your job. And you definitely try to help out where you can.
Right. That's the part that's fascinating to me, right? Like, it's, again, one day you've got to be, I'm the man. The next day it's, okay, what can I do to help everybody else? Which is really interesting to me. Cooper, I wonder, because from the outside, I think a lot of people would say, that there are strong opinions about the Dallas Cowboys organization. You're someone who thrived, right? Like we saw a year ago when you played, it was outstanding. And even going back to 2022, what made it work for you? Like why in a place where a lot of people would say, hey, that's the Cowboys, they're not run well. Why is it that you were such a success story in Dallas?
Yeah, I think we had a really good locker room. A lot of guys, like you hear about a lot of outside noise, but really inside the building, it's nothing too crazy. And at the end of the day, how you choose how to let things affect you. And I mean, in my mindset, and a lot of guys' mindset that have success there, this is the Dallas Cowboys. This is awesome. This is the coolest organization in the world. You're playing on Monday night, Sunday night, Thanksgiving, things like that. And if you accept that in a positive light, I think can really help you guys. I enjoyed it, really did.
I look, I think it's amazing. I wondered, like, what does it do for you personally to have a season like that? When you're not playing, do you almost have like questions in your mind, like, can I still play? Can I still do it? Like, do you need to have a taste, like, oh right, yeah, this is who I am, this is what I'm capable of doing? When you get that opportunity to have extended periods of time on the field.
Yeah, I think it's totally needed. It's very easy, I think, when you don't play for a while to have those thoughts creep in, for sure. But then you get out there and, like I said, it happens real fast. You're like, okay, this is just football. We've been doing it. I can still do it. Things like that. But, yeah, that's why reps are important for guys, and game reps especially. You hear it all the time, and that's why they're special.
Obviously, you've done this now for a long time. How have you, as a person, evolved from the guy that came into the NFL? Beyond being a football player, how have you evolved? What are the biggest lessons that you've learned over this near decade that you've been in the NFL?
Yeah, you learn a lot about yourself. You grow mentally, especially. I kind of hit on it, like how you can accept the role you're in, whatever it is, and take advantage of it. You learn to kind of stay level-headed, the ups and downs, because there's a little bit of survival in it, especially when you're a bottom roster guy, and it's easy to slip into a state of mind where you play the victim, or you try to control things that you can't control. So you kind of just stay within yourself, and you learn to control things you can control, and I think it helped out a lot.
Did I see you got 2 little girls?
Yeah, a 4-year-old and 2-year-old. Yep.
So how are they handling? This is like I assume this is their first move, or like the first time Dad's been on a new team. I don't know if they're gonna move, but like, how are they handling this? Do they have any sense at all, or are they still too young for this to really register for them in any way?
No, my 4-year-old is all in it, all about it. She's involved in talking about moving, and the other night made sure to have the mascot, the little stuffed animal Poe, in her bed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, so she's getting into it. I think it's something exciting for her. Yeah.
I would assume for little girls, like, purple's the perfect color, right? Like, they got to be fired up about that part of this.
Yeah, my wife and the girls are definitely enjoying the colors.
I can dig that. I think that's a really cool thing. Cooper, did you ever have? I know you had a minute. Like, did you ever think, like, maybe I'm just gonna stay in Dallas forever? Did you ever have? I know that's not technically true because you had a little bit of time with the Giants, but did you ever have that thought? And like, was there maybe a disappointment that came along with that? Like, hey, I really thought that this was just gonna be my professional home for a long time.
I knew it would probably come to an end. It's just so rare to stay with one team, especially in a position that I'm in. And like I said, the 8 years was a surprise. You survived 2 different staffs, things like that. Pretty rare, and was kind of lucky. Didn't have to move and made this a home, and a lot of big life things happen here. So Dallas will always be special. But you knew it was coming to an end. That's the name of the game. That's how this league works, and we'll miss it, but we're really excited for the next adventure.
We're really excited to have you here in Baltimore. Have you had a chance to have a crab cake yet?
We had some at the airport, actually, in Baltimore. It was actually for airport crab cake. It was really good.
I'm trying to think of who would have had crab cake. Was that your first crab cake? And was it like, we have to have a crab cake while we're here because we know this is going to be a part of our life now?
We used to, whenever we go play the Commanders, they would have them set up for us.
Okay.
So at the hotel. So that was always a things guys look forward to when we travel out there. It was actually really awesome.
That's cool, man. That's cool. A Michigan guy growing up, this is the important question. Did you ever are you familiar with foaling, this football bowling game combination that apparently is very popular up there?
Oh, yeah. I remember probably 10 years ago or so, 10, 12 years ago, we did a bowl game, and we were on this brand new foaling place, or fouling, I think. I don't even know what they call it, but it was everyone loves it. It's all over in Michigan.
I think it's fun I can't believe it hasn't become bigger in the rest of the country. I watched Detroiters, of course, with Tim Robinson, and they had a scene, and I was like, dude, this looks so much fun. So we actually went out and bought bowling pins and like set it up and did it for fantasy draft order that year. And I said, this feels like it should be a big deal maybe you and I need to go in business together to like open up a foaling place here in Baltimore or something like that.
I mean, they're pretty popular. It's maybe you need more snow to be buried inside more.
Force people. We get plenty of that. It's not a Michigan winter here, but there's a real winter here. So there's a real need for some of those types of things. We'll have to look into that. Cooper, I mentioned obviously Path to Scratch with the number 2, path2scratch.com. You're on Instagram as well at _Cooper Rush, correct?
Correct, yep.
And anything else? I know you've always been really involved with like My Cause, My Cleats. Anything that you're doing like from a charity standpoint that we could point people to?
No, I don't really have any specific charity. So got nothing really there for you, but nothing specific, no.
I appreciate it nonetheless. Cooper, really looking forward to getting to know you and seeing you out there in the coming weeks and months. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. We really appreciate you doing this, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Can't wait.
It's Cooper Rush. Good to get to know him, spend a couple of minutes with him. And, yeah, whenever you get ready to do an interview like this, you're like, there's got to be a connection. Like, there's just got to be – and I couldn't find one. I was just banging my head against the wall. Like, what is the connection here? And so I just had to sort of acknowledge, hey, man, can you tell me what it is? And the answer is no, there's not one.
I guess they like watching me play football.
Yeah, right? They needed a backup quarterback. As I've said before about Cooper Rush, it certainly fits the bill of the very specific, if you were to lose your quarterback for 3 to 4 games in the middle of the season and you needed to give yourself a puncher's chance to win those games, could your backup quarterback do that? And I think you were hard-pressed to believe that Josh Johnson could have, with respect to Josh Johnson, the amazing longevity that he had. Did Josh Johnson, is he employed again? Did somebody pick him up? With respect to all the longevity he's had in his career, it is tough it's really difficult to believe that you would have a true puncher's chance to win if you had to start Josh Johnson for multiple games.
He would be a free agent, yes.
On the flip side, I'm not trying to tell you that you will win games with Cooper Rush as your starting quarterback because I don't know. But as we pointed out, his record as a starter is 9-5. And a year ago, he went 4-4 with a Cowboys team that looked rudderless. So does it give you a chance? I think you can argue it gives you a chance. A lot of people would say backup quarterback's a luxury. Just take somebody or draft somebody, make them your backup quarterback. But if the one specific the very narrow prism of what you could want out of a backup quarterback, it feels like Cooper Rush is that guy that can offer you a little bit more in that capacity. Appreciate him taking the time for us this morning. All right. It sounded like you were okay. All right. Very, very good.
I don't think I made any sounds.
Yeah, it was. I think we go back and check the tape. We're gonna find that there was a sound there.
I'm happy to. I don't think.
Come back in. We'll get it. Oh, you know what? I do want to run by the sports trivia from Trivia Lab. Dominant performance for team. Unlike Maryland, who had to struggle. Dominant effort from Team Norfolk last night.
Hey, win's a win. All right.
It's true. You're right about that. Doesn't count anymore. I don't know if you remember because you only showed up once and then said this is too difficult. I'm out. It sounded like that.
I mean, I had something obviously better to do last night.
Yeah, last night I'll give you a pass for. That. Are you? Griffin's gonna be my date for opening day next Monday. I'm going to trivia afterwards. You gonna make it a full day long date?
I mean that's a long day.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured that was the answer.
That's gonna be a lot of time spent with you.
Yeah,
as well.
You know what?
On that day.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Weird.
I don't know.
Weird how that played out.
Maybe.
So I bring all this up to say
Not sure.
that the way the format works is you have a question that you have to wager points on, and then a follow-up that's sort of a wild card question afterwards. All of the wager questions, we went 10 for 10 last night in the wager questions.
Wow.
We were killing it last evening.
Yeah.
This one was the easy one. There will be 2 Major League Baseball teams that will play games in minor league stadiums this year. Who are they?
That would be the Tampa Bay. Well, they'll be in Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay Rays and the Sacramento Athletics.
Well, just the Athletics. I think that's the rule is that they don't have a. That one was easy.
That's right, Mike Bibby, Sac State.
That's right. He's going to Sacramento State. I did see that. Of course, his father, Henry, was a coach for a very long time.
Villanova would just go ahead and hire him.
Mike Bibby. He thought that was going to be the jump.
Like
This one was a bit more ball busting. It's a 3-part question. Give the first and last name of each of the following sports persons whose name contains the letter Q.
Give the first and last.
Yeah. I admittedly, when the questions came up on the screen, I only had one of the 3 right off the top of my head. The second one, even when I turned it in, I didn't know was the correct answer, but I thought was a reasonable guess. The third one was a miracle. I was prepared to just give a throwaway answer, and then like right before we had to turn it in, I was like, we should guess this guy. Turned out to be right.
So there's a Q in the name.
There's a Q somewhere in the name.
I'm not going to do good at this.
Number 1. A Duke University point guard from 1985 to 1989 who is currently
I was alive then.
Who is currently the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks. I would make fun of you but I looked like this when the question popped up on the board last night. I got it.
The Atlanta Hawks. They have a coach right now?
They do. They have
can I like
uniforms
phone,
and
can
uniforms
I phone
and everything.
Can I phone the host of NBA
No,
Corner?
no. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A million years. Hey, Drew, name an Atlanta Hawk. Dominique Wilkins. Thank you, buddy.
Wait, is that who it is?
No, it's not Dominique Wilkins. And it's funny because Proctor did bring that up.
Man, he played point guard
at Duke from 1985 to 1989. Malik
ends in Q.
With
obviously.
a Q. Malik with a Q. Got it.
Malik with a Q.
Malik with a Q.
Gosh, I mean, the Hawks are good this year, right? Like, I want to make sure.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, like I want to make sure.
I'm not the host of NBA Corner.
So you just want me to throw something out there now?
Yeah, throw.
Sounds like it's not Malik.
Well,
there's a Q.
The Hawks currently sitting in the 7th position in the Eastern Conference.
Oh, they're legit. Yeah.
Name an Atlanta Hawk.
Trae Young.
Sorry, I should have said that. Name an Atlanta Hawk besides Trae Young.
No, DeAndre Hunter was traded, wasn't he? DeJounte Murray.
No,
he was traded to
the Spurs
or whatever.
Yeah.
No, Murray.
Well, he was traded to the Spurs. Oh,
he started on the Spurs, then he went to Atlanta. Now he's in New Orleans.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So not DeJounte Murray. John Collins. No, he's not there anymore. Is he? No. John Collins still there?
No. This one's kind of bad because, they literally had the number 1 pick in the draft last year.
Ricochet.
Yeah, correct.
Zach Ricochet.
100%. Got it.
There we go.
An adventure, but you got
He's
it.
not the coach, is he?
He's not. Doesn't have a Q in his name.
Kevin Herter.
I did not know he was the coach of the Hawks, but I did come up with a coach who had a Q in his name that I knew was recently an NBA coach, and I said, boy, there's a chance that's where he ended up, and since I didn't have another good guess.
And Q's either in the first or last.
Anywhere in the name.
Okay. Derik Queen?
Yeah, probably not an NBA head coach.
Let's go with Malik Brown.
But you keep coming back to Malik. I came up with a coach whose name starts with a Q.
Quentin.
Who was once the head coach at Missouri.
Quinn.
And then became the coach of the Jazz.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Sounds like great.
Old slicky boy. Slick back hair.
Quint
Kesnick.
Yeah, Quint Kesnick. Q was his name just Q.
No, his name is Quinn.
Quinn. I don't think it's Ewers.
Quinn with a single N. Yes, Quinn Ewers is the head coach.
Quinn. Jones.
Quinn Snyder.
Quinn Snyder.
Snyder.
Of course. And if he just walked in right now, I'd also know that that's Quinn Snyder.
Well, I would because of the hair. Like, if he still had, at this point, he's probably going to be close to 60. He was very young when he was the coach at Missouri. He started at Missouri in 1999. Wow, holy crap. He was 33 years old when he took over as the head coach of Missouri.
Definitely heard of this guy.
Quinn Snyder, who had been with the Jazz. I had no idea that he was still a coach in the NBA, truthfully.
Wow, this is his third season with the Hawks.
But I couldn't think of anybody else that would be a coach that started with a Q. I couldn't come up with anything else.
Good job.
I believe it's his second season. I think you're doing that thing with years again. Yeah, you're really struggling with that. But the season starts in the previous calendar year. Number 2. That went so well.
I bet I got this one.
Yeah? The current all-time points leader in the National Hockey League for a defenseman. You might go 0 for 3. In fact, I am assuming you're going to go 0 for 3. Our sports guy. Imagine if 1 week I was out and I was like, I'm going to send Griffin to be our sports guy.
No Q in that name.
It was a big night for me because there was also a Bible question, and randomly I've become the Bible guy on the team, and I got it. And there was a political question. It was more like name this political commentator, and I got all 5 of them.
Wow. Yeah. Rush Limbaugh.
No, it was all women because it's Women's History Month.
Name a defenseman. How about now it's just name a hockey player with a Q in it. Are there hockey players with Q's in their name?
I was ready to punt on this one. I was ready to just throw out a name that, like, it took me really right. This was the one that right up until...
Is this Quint Kesnick?
It's not Quint Kesnick. The name does not start with a Q this time around.
Is this, it's like Jacques?
Jacques would be it's a Canadian-sounding name, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Now, is Jacques the last name?
I was ready to go with Labreque, Labreque, because I was like, that sounds Canadian, too.
Let's go with Jacques James.
Jacques James. Jacques James. I believe that's what they called the Jock Jam series in France.
Jacques James.
This Is How We Do It was on there. It said, pick a volume 1 of Jacques James.
Do I get the team? Yeah, we'll go with Jacques.
No.
Jones. Maybe.
No, a Boston Bruins legend.
Charlie.
Not Charlie.
It's not Jacques, I guess.
Won a Stanley Cup, but didn't win it in Boston.
Of course. It was,
however, Boston was he was so beloved in Boston that when he went elsewhere at the end of his career and won that Stanley Cup, they actually held a parade for him in Boston.
Really?
He was so beloved.
So this guy's like old.
He's in his 60s now, yeah. But this happened in the 90s, I believe.
Brad.
Yeah, Brad. Oh,
Marchand.
Brad. No, definitely not the case.
Then because could have been
5-time Norris Trophy winner.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why did you say that?
I should have.
Stack with like Q-U-E.
Brian Powell's trying to let me know that he knows. I'm like, thank you, Brian. Stink. Yes. That's probably what it is. It's probably Stink.
Stink, Stink, his last name was just Q.
Just Stink.
Stink Q.
Yeah, just Stink.
Stink Q.
No.
Are you sure?
No. His
Check
first
again?
name is...
Can you check again?
His first name is Ray.
Ray.
It wasn't in the 90s. It was in the early 2000s. That
come
won the Stanley Cup with the Colorado Avalanche.
God, I kept
the
thinking about all the
2000,
90s. Now I gotta forget all the
season.
90s guys I was thinking of.
Yeah, it's Ray Bork. You were never getting there. You were never in a million years. Now let's watch and see if we can go 0 for 3. 1996 Olympic gold medal winner.
I feel like you're making these up.
From the United States, whose nickname is, quote, Awesome Dawsome, unquote.
What was the first part?
1996 Olympic gold medal winner from the United States, whose nickname is, quote, Awesome Dawsome, unquote. Steve.
McHugh. Yeah, Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen.
Not him. Not that one.
No.
Not that Steve.
No.
What sport was he an Olympian in? I don't get that. He was a gold medalist in '96.
I didn't say he.
Okay.
I didn't say she either.
Could be anyone. So was it a dog? Was it a? I mean, Q's just such a weird letter. Not many. Can't think of a whole lot of. So could also probably be a Quinn, maybe Quinn. Quinn. Awesome Dawson. Quinn Dawson.
Quinn Dawson, you say?
Yeah, has to be.
And
has to be. Okay, that's the only one it can't.
Yeah, sure. So 0 for 3.
I guess so.
0 for 3. The sports guy. 0 for 3. Dominique Dawes, Maryland native.
Darn.
Dominique Dawes. Awesome Dawson. Dominique Dawes.
Sure.
That was oddly the one that we all got immediately. That was the one I looked up and said, well, that one's obvious.
Well, I mean, yeah.
It was tough. This was a bloodbath.
Well, none of these guys. I mean, I wasn't alive during any.
Ah,
of these.
right. That explains everything. If it happened before you, there's no way you could know about it. That's always the.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Year 0 to me is the year 2000.
Correct. That's a great point. Well, the Ray Bork was after the year 2000. So.
All right, fine. I get that. Then I'll accept that loss.
So that one won. Well, Quinn Snyder's the current coach of the Hawks.
Yeah, but he played in the 90s.
The
hint
current
or the
coach
80s.
the hint said
in the 80s.
he's the current coach of the Atlanta Hawks.
That I would have had.
How old are you now?
I'm 20 something.
Right. Yeah. So that's now. He's the coach of the Atlanta Hawks. And I gave you more hints. And how'd that work out for you? Anyway, what are the three highest?
Not a very good coach.
3 highest grossing Julia Roberts films of all time. That one was tough. We only got 2 for 3 on
Pretty
that
Woman.
One. Yes.
Is that the highest?
I don't know if it's the highest. They didn't. They only said that they were all $150 million or more.
What else was Julia Roberts in?
3 highest grossing Julia Roberts
movies
of all
Transformers?
time.
No, I don't think she was. I don't think so.
Might have missed that one. I gave up after 2 for what it's worth.
Wasn't she in let's go with was that her and Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
What?
Yeah. With Brad Pitt. That
it's Angelina Jolie.
Oh, that was Angelina Jolie.
Other than that, nailed it.
What else was Julia Roberts in? I mean, should I tap out now?
Wow. One of them, admittedly, was more of an ensemble cast.
So she was never in Avengers.
It was a remake. Brad Pitt.
Ocean's Which one? Which one here? It was a remake?
Yes.
Ocean's 13.
No.
Ocean's 7.
No.
Ocean's... It wasn't Ocean's 11.
It was Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11?
Yes. Christ.
Ocean's 11.
And the other one was actually filmed. We got those two. The other one was filmed right here in Maryland. They missed it. I don't remember what we answered. I genuinely don't remember what we said as the other answer that we gave. Maybe Hook is what we said. I don't know.
That's a good guess.
No, we said Aaron Brockovich. That's what we said. She won the best actor best actress for that. So,
Wedding Crashers?
No, not Wedding Crashers. Although yes, parts of Wedding Crashers were filmed. Although I don't know how much of it was filmed in Maryland because a lot of it was D.C. I don't know. Anyway, the moral of the story is Runaway Bride was the other answer. Runaway Bride, filmed here in Maryland, the other highest grossing Julia Roberts film. So 0 for 6. Very good. We come back in.
No,
you got the two minor league teams.
Others? Yeah, exactly.
You did get that. You did get that. You got that going. Literally everyone on the team knew that, which was bizarre. I couldn't believe it.
Any others I could get, you think?
I don't remember the other questions from last.
What was the Bible one?
What are the two books of the Old Testament that are named after females?
The Bible.
The Bible. Yes.
Wait, that is the Old
I
Testament.
got this, which is great.
All right, we're going to break.
Yep. We'll come back in. We'll get a tidbit and two-bit to wrap it up. Glenn Clark Radio.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with two sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farms stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Kevin Willard, apparently, there's adding to all this. Apparently, he was supposed to go on with the Junkies this morning down in D.C. and didn't post, but he did appear on Kevin Sheehan's show on 980 in D.C. The quote, "As of right now, I'm staying."
Cool.
I don't know.
All right, sweet. So he's coaching Thursday
Let
night.
me hear it. I'm sending it to you right now. I'm sending you the link so we can hear it. This is
emailing it or
a Twitter message.
Okay,
So Kevin Willard, 980, I believe, is the flagship for Maryland and D.C. I would think that means that Kevin Willard would probably make an appearance on 105.7 this week as well. Or maybe Kevin Sheehan, I know there's a little bit of a relationship thing because Kevin Sheehan's best friends with Scott Van Pelt, and so I think there's a little bit more of an inside thing there with Maryland. But so Kevin Willard, I don't know the story. I just saw that from somewhere else that he was supposed to be on with the Junkies this morning and didn't. But he did appear with Kevin Sheehan, and this was pulled by Inside the Black and Gold. Here's what it sounded like, courtesy of Odyssey.
Have raised people's eyes, but Maryland's been great. We're in perfect shape. I missed the radio show today, and everybody thinks I missed the radio show today because I overslept. I'm on West Coast time now. Everything that my concerns have been about the job, and that was my whole point of my press conference. And maybe my jersey came out of me not in the greatest way. Was I want to make this program the best, and I think when you have an opportunity to do it, you have to take advantage of the opportunity, Kevin. And obviously losing the athletic director has been a little bit of I wouldn't say it's been a little hard, to be honest with you, just because I wasn't expecting Damon to leave and go to SMU. But I've been working with Brian Ullman and everyone in the athletic department, and they've been great, and they understood my concerns and what I want. And again, I don't want monumental things. I just want this program to be the best it can be. And I think I'm not asking for that much. As of right now, I'm saying, Kev, yes. I've raised.
So that's nothing. I mean,
all right, we got our coach.
So that's nothing. I mean, it could mean everything, right? It could mean that yes, he's it could also mean I gotta say I am coaching the team in the NCAA tournament, and I'm not gonna choose to say publicly that I'm leaving. So this is how I've decided I'm going to go about saying it. And I'm not. This isn't a knock at Kevin Sheehan. He asked the question and did everything he could to get an answer, and this is the answer that he got. And maybe it's significant, or maybe it's not significant at all. I am told that this was what I was told. Somebody. I was told by someone who I think has knowledge of the situation that say it's still a fluid situation, because it is. It's something that they're continuing to work on every day. It is awkward given the fact that the team is in the tournament right now, but I promise you they are still working on it and hoping to get something done. Okay? None of that means anything. None of that means anything. And to be fair, like until it does, it doesn't, right? Like until it's an announcement that all there could still be different results. As of right now, I'm staying. It doesn't mean anything. Like it just doesn't. And somebody will read into that the exact opposite and say that's definitively him saying he's leaving, right? Like that's definitively, if he was definitely staying no matter what, he would say that. Because he said it this way, that means he's leaving. I don't know. God damn, man. Oh, what a time. What a time. All right, you want to get a tidbit?
Yeah.
Let's get a tidbit.
I do want to. How about this one? I bet you can do this one. So the Giants.
Runaway Bride.
Not Runaway Bride.
Dominique Dawes.
Close. The Giants will be starting a new left fielder on opening day on Thursday. That will stretch a streak, tied for the longest streak of a different player at any position. Happens to be left field here. Left field, although the three longest streaks are all different left fielders across 19 straight opening days. So the Giants are starting a new left fielder for the 19th straight opening day. Do you think you can name the 19?
Yeah, definitely going to name
left fielders for the
all of the
Giants
Giants left fielders. Let's do that. That's a good way to spend our time.
So that's tied now for the longest.
You have the list?
I
Go
do have
ahead.
the list.
Why not?
Last year,
No, we're not doing we're not guessing. Just tell me. Just read the name of list of
Michael
names.
Conforto.
Okay, sure. Just keep reading.
And then is it Sable? So Blake Sable, was that his name?
Never heard of him.
I can't remember Sable. 2023 was Sable. Jock Peterson.
She was. I think she's married to Brock Lesnar, and I'm pretty sure she was in the WWE for a while.
Well, she started left field for the
I believe
Giants.
her real name is
Rena
Rena Marrow, I believe is her real
Jock
name.
Peterson in 22. Austin Slater, Orioles legend.
That's
in
right.
2021.
Yeah.
The COVID year was is this Chris Dickerson? I think. I just see the last name, so that's why.
I'm pretty sure it's not Corey, is it? Which one was around for longer?
I don't know. Dickerson in 2020.
Sure. It was probably Eric Dickerson, the former Rams running back.
That who
if I had
was?
to guess.
I guess. Yeah, I guess so. He'd be out west. Joe. So Connor Joe, I think in 2019.
Corey Dickerson never played for the Giants.
So it got to be Chris Dickerson. Buster Posey's good friend Hunter Pence in 2018. 2017 was Parker.
Mary Louise.
2016 was Angel Pagan.
It wasn't Chris Dickerson. He wasn't in baseball in 2020. He was out in 2014.
Okay, so another Dickerson.
Yeah. Sure.
Was there another Chris Dickerson? I feel like there was
maybe
multiple Chris Dickersons.
Were there?
Yeah,
I'll believe
like
you.
Was. 2015 was
Alex Dickerson.
Alex Dickerson.
Dickerson.
Not on my Rolodex.
Register with me either.
Aoki in 2015 was that the Brewers guy?
Yeah,
I
liked
his first
him.
name was. But yeah, Aoki in 2015. I think this is. Want to go Mitch Morse?
Nori Aoki. Yes.
There we go. Mitch Morse in 2014. I think.
Mitch Morse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Torres in 2013. Is that Andres Torres? I think.
Sure.
Another Orioles legend here. Aubrey Huff in
No,
2012.
Mitch Morse is the Bills' offensive lineman. Michael Morse, of
Michael
course, is who we were thinking of.
Darn,
Yes,
of course,
that was rough. That was rough.
Ty Burrell in 2011. No, not Ty Burrell.
No, that's
Modern Family.
That's correct.
Philadelphia.
Pat Burrell
Pat
would be who you're thinking of.
Is this Mark DeRosa? I think,
My
in 2010?
God.
Mark DeRosa, I want to say, in 2010.
Mark DeRosa playing the outfield?
I
believe you.
I guess so, maybe at least for a little bit.
Yeah, he was with the Giants
Then they had
so.
Lewis in 2009.
Sure.
Roberts in 2008. And then Bonds in 2007, and that was the last repeat they had, was Barry Bonds in 06 and 07. That was the
who
last
was
time
2009? You say was Lewis?
Yeah, Lewis for the Giants.
Lewis
for the Giants.
Fred Lewis. Sure.
Good old Fred. And then Roberts in 2008?
Roberts in 2008 was I'm not seeing a Roberts on here. Hang on a second.
Well, you want me to find it, and I'll give you the next question.
No,
or we can be done.
Just move on.
Yeah,
that was Dave Roberts. Holy crap!
Really, Dave Roberts played in 2008.
Dave Roberts was still playing in 2008.
Wow.
Look at that. He was 36.
Good for him.
Anything
On
else?
opening day. Can we do the Wizards one? Jordan Poole knocked down his 200th three over the weekend. He became the fourth player in franchise history. And Wizards, I guess that goes back to the Bullets as well. But
all the good players played before there was a 3-point line.
Yeah. Be fourth player in franchise history to make 200 threes in a single season. So 4 Wizards.
All right. Gil.
Like that's his first name.
Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah, Gil Arenas.
Christ.
Gil Arenas. Well, I didn't want to give you that one. But yes, Gilbert Arenas.
Beal.
Bradley Beal has done it.
Wall.
John Wall never did this.
Was it the year that Pierce came back? Did he?
He did not knock down 200 threes.
Yeah, I'm never gonna get the other one then.
He's a European guy.
Sure. Danny.
Nope. His first name does start with a D though.
European guy whose name starts with a D. European.
Since he left, he's Latvian. Since he left Washington, he has just been injury riddled. I feel like he's barely played.
Oh, good. That's definitely somebody I'll get.
Oh, because now he's in Dubai. Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
He signed a big deal with the Wizards, and then they traded him to Dallas in the.
He signed a big deal with the Wizards, and he stunk. That's stunning. That almost never. Well, that puts him in the exclusive company of everyone. I don't know.
And then he was with the Mavericks. That's right. That's Spencer Dinwiddie came here.
Sure.
And,
when you say here, we're not in D.C., right?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
We are.
No.
This is D.C.
No.
Number one D.C. sports show.
Yeah, correct.
And then he went to the Thunder for like a little bit.
Thunder, feel the thunder, lightning, and the thunder.
He was with the Charlotte Hornets last year.
Okay, just say the name of this person.
Davis Bertans, of course.
I still don't know who it is.
Davis Bertans?
I still have never heard of this person.
He's a tall guy, makes threes.
I believe you. You should save that for tomorrow in NBA Corner. Why did we do that today? We wasted the content.
Well, I'll send it.
Way to go. Way to go. Let's get tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise, and it's thin, unfortunately, until Thursday. Just the way that it goes. Maryland baseball plays George Mason this afternoon, 4 o'clock on Big Ten Network Plus. NIT tonight. Can I interest you in that?
Yes.
ESPN2.
Heck yeah. Well, we got baseball. I believe.
ESPN2, Chattanooga and Bradley at 7. North Texas, Oklahoma State at 9. Wow. CBI tonight on ESPNU. Nice. Illinois State Incarnate Word at 7. Florida Gulf Coast, Cleveland State at 9:30.
Not for me.
Ovechkin continues his pursuit of the record tonight. Capitals Jets, 8 o'clock on Monumental. TNT and True TV for Warriors Heat, 7:30. Thunder Kings at 10. Tennis Channel, Miami Open continues. Unfortunately, Frankie Tiafoe. That was lost to Arthur Feast last night. The video game golf finals continue. I don't know who won match 1, but match 2 is tonight at 7. And if the team that didn't win last night wins tonight, then match 3 would be tonight at 9. Otherwise, I don't know what they do on ESPN. They just Scott Van Pelt dances. I have no idea what they do.
I'll tune in for that.
Like, this is really bizarre. Like, what do they possibly do? They just like air the NIT game as well, like simulcast it on ESPN and ESPN2. MLB Network, Rockies Twins at 1, Braves Cubs at 4, Tigers Giants at 8.
Maryland Alabama game. Probably.
They did that yesterday on CBS Sports Network. And the CW for WWE NXT tonight at 8. Non-sports.
Not a whole lot here either. We got 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again for everyone on Disney Plus tonight at 9. And then, we got the season 4 premiere of The Cleaning Lady on Fox, of course. That's your favorite, The Cleaning Lady.
I did like that show, actually.
Did you really? You watched The Cleaning Lady?
No. I'm thinking of the one. Oh, what am I? High Potential is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Where she played a cleaning lady, but then got hired. That's what I was thinking of.
That was The Cleaning Lady.
That was her job. She was the cleaning lady.
It's also the season 2 finale of Deal or No Deal Island on NBC.
Amazingly, I haven't caught any.
There are episodes. We got.
I can't watch now because I'd be missing most of the plot.
St. Dennis Medical.
I do like that.
And then Jenna Ortega will be on Colbert. And then
it's got to be multiple.
I mean, Megan Maroney. Will
Is she also the musical guest?
No,
is it Jenna Ortega? Is she playing Bob Dylan songs?
Megan Maroney.
That would be pretty special, actually.
Megan Maroney. Yeah. Kimmel's gonna have Elizabeth Moss and Adam Devine.
Well, I do like Adam Devine. Obviously, is on because I can't make a joke here because I love Gemstones.
Oh, you can't. You really?
Yeah, I can't. Who is the gal? They like introduced Sean William Scott's character on this episode, who's playing Megan Mullally's son, and there's someone playing his wife that I've known from like a million things, and I can't think of who it is.
Adam Devine's wife?
No. Adam Devine is not into women on this particular show.
Okay.
No, they've introduced new characters. Megan Mullally is now playing a new love interest for Eli Gemstone, John Goodman's character, and she has a son who's played by Sean William Scott. And Sean William Scott is married, and the actress that plays Sean William Scott's wife, I know, but I can't put my finger on how I know her.
Bradley Cooper?
No, Bradley Cooper. Arden Mirren is her name.
Okay.
Arden Mirren, who has been on What Women Want, Bubble Boy, Christmas with the Cranks, Evan Almighty, things that I've seen. Oh, television. She's been on everything. She's basically had cameos on every show of all time. She's appeared on Just Shoot Me, Friends, Reno 911. She was on Mad TV late in the show. Nobody was still watching Mad TV then. Gilmore Girls. What else have I watched? Party Down. Suburgatory. I did like Suburgatory, actually. Inside Amy Schumer. Orange is the New Black, Key and Peele. She's been on literally everything. God damn.
She's just an actor.
I like her a lot. I'm a big Arden Mirren fan, but it's one of those, like, you like them, but you couldn't possibly tell them. Like, I will have forgotten her name again by tomorrow.
Two Broke
But
Girls,
she's great.
One episode of that.
She's excellent. Oh, and she was also on At Midnight when it was Chris Hardwick hosting At Midnight on Comedy Central, and I watched that show. She was on it a lot. And she was on Mrs. Maisel, Goldberg's, everything. She's really been on everything. All right, sorry. What do we have? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. I guess if you want to do the last one more of the bits, Naomi Watts and Tom Segura.
They're on promoting Arden Mirren.
Just promoting her.
Like, she's great. They're just like, hey, you should check her out. Follow her on social. Like, she's cool, man.
Nice.
Arden Mirren.
Looking forward to that hit then.
Thanks today to Cooper Rush. Thanks also to Randolph Childress and to Patrick Stevens. We'll get it up in the greatest hits section of the
Can You Take Me Higher?
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. We're back to that.
Yeah, what did I want to do? Oh, yeah, I guess for today.
You just forgot. That's
Never
all.
know.
That's
You never
all.
know what's gonna happen.
All it was. Just forgot. All right. Very good. Tomorrow on the program. My God, already? We're already to stuffing things?
Well, Drew will be here.
Jesus Christ. Wait. Thanks, everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including...
What do you want from me?
Guests? Like, that seems to stand out. Progress?
I mean, I kind of do, too. But
yeah, kind of. Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, as well as the Costas Inn. Oh, man, we didn't. I just wanted to say that we're thinking about everybody over the Costas Inn. If you haven't seen it yet, the namesake of the Costas Inn, Costa Triantafylos, passed away this week, and quite suddenly and in really tragic fashion. And 85 lived an incredible life and leaves an unbelievable impact. But to Nick, to Pete, to their mom, to everybody over there, we love all of them. I traded some texts this morning, and they are very much going through it. But love to the Triantafyloses and just love to everybody over at Costas Inn, and what a legacy that Costa leaves behind. Thanks also to MSAA, Maryland Sports, Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com, and the Classic 5 golf courses. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Maryland baseball. Duke sucks.